lights are off and away they go.
Extremely loose. He's managed to hold on it.
He missed the complete that. He's crazy stuff.
Side Freitas is on the grass on the infield floor. He slides through. He tags Richard Eck.
With many top contenders not showing in recent races, the championship has tightened up in both classes. Today's speed will rule all, with the long straightaways of Road America providing high top end and plenty of passing opportunities. We'll find out who can keep their nose clean and come away with a win as we get ready to watch round 9 of the Continental Endurance Sports Car Series live on the Global Sim Racing channel. Hi, I'm Joe Peak. With me in the booth is Ayrton Ellis and Bill Zahn. Our cameras, as always, are provided by Dougie Beard and directed by Giancarlo Lenzi. Ayrton, this track is often cited as a driver favorite. Tell us a bit about this long and very fast circuit.
Thanks, Joe. Well, it's one of my favorites as well. It's just over 4 miles long, 6.5 kilometers, and has 14 turns, all very different and challenging in their own ways. And these guys are going to be driving around the track for 2 whole hours, so a long enduring race for these guys. They're going to have to make at least 2 pit stops throughout the course of the race. There's going to be cautions as well, so that can always happen.
Absolutely, and cautions here will take a while with that long lap. And speaking of that lap, let's hop on board a Mustang and see what it's like on board.
All right, getting ready to do a lap around Road America with Kevin Brown and the Mustang. Coming onto the front straightaway here, that final corner has a very important exit because as you can see this huge hill, you want to have as much momentum to carry up it as possible. Coming across the start-finish line. Now coming up to this first corner, it can be a passing zone, but it's relatively tricky because it's still a somewhat fast corner. You're going to brake right before those 3 cones. And then again, carry momentum through. Be careful not to take grass on the exit as it can spin you onto the inside wall there. Now coming up and braking for turn 3 here. This is another corner with an extremely important exit because it leads onto this long straightaway, the moraine sweep, that is going to be one of the best passing zones on this course. Now coming down here, there's a couple corners such as 3A and 4. They're kind of non-corners, they're just kind of bends here. Coming up to the final braking zone, just before that 2 marker, very hard, and turn it in. Now don't get too greedy on the curbs here on the exit because if you get a little bit of grass, you'll get a 1X. Now coming over the crest here, your car's going to go light. It can be very easy to lock up the brakes. Again, carry your momentum around this left-hander of turn 6. Then just a little bit of a lift through 7, this fast kink that takes you into the hurry downs. Now this left-hander can also be another passing zone if you get a good run on someone. But regardless, it's going to dump you into the carousel here. So obviously you don't need to get too good of an exit, but you're going to play with the throttle, you're going to balance the car on the throttle around this corner. And obviously it takes a lot of patience, it takes a long time to get around here, but you want to get as much momentum as you can out of that corner as well. It's going to lead you onto the back straightaway. And again, very fast right-hander, just a little bit of a lift. The kink is known for taking many a good man out of a race. Down the kettle bottoms, up towards Canada Corner. Now this is going to be the other good passing opportunity that you're going to see on this lap. Brake very hard into this right-hander. And there's a lot of curb to take, but it's deceiving because if you take too much, it just stops and you head into the grass. And then you can take this left-hander flat out if you're good, if you get the right entry. And that's going to take you into the final corner. Again, it's more important to get the exit right than the entry here. And hopefully, coming onto the front straightaway here, you got a good run on the guy in front of you. And you can attempt to make a pass into 1 as you come up the hill. But that's a lap around Road America.
And as you can see, there is going to be some very, very long straightaways for both classes throughout this race. And as we watch qualifying come to the end, let's talk about the championship really quick. What is GS class looking like, Ayrton?
Well, GS is pretty close. Patrick Ribieri is leading the championship with 214 points. 2 points back is Nicholas Bailey. Then 5 points back is Steve Brown. 10 points back is Sean Vandergriff in 4th. Then Elliot Huffman in 5th. Arthur Herman in 6th. Kimo Swamanen with very few races ran in 7th. Doljon Boldrin in 8th. Jason Breifogel in 9th. And Jeff Jacobs in 10th. But it's definitely going to get mixed up because Patrick Ribieri is not here today.
So it'll be interesting to see who comes out ahead. Obviously, Nicholas Bailey having a very good season. Meanwhile, in ST, we've got a very unusual situation, Bill.
Yeah, Joe, this date in history, in 1727, Sir Isaac Newton passed away, and he passed away without actually ever, how can I put this delicately, without knowing a woman intimately. And when they asked him about that, he said he had no regrets because his contribution to science far outweighed any personal conquest that he may have missed out on. Now, we have a similar case for Australian James the Boomerang Stevenson, who's trying to loop back around for his 4th championship. He's had great success in the point standings, but has yet to really experience a victory, the thrill of victory this season. So he's 10 points ahead of Sergio Mora, who broke his duck. That's a steal a phrase from Joe Peak. Not sure what that actually means. Maybe it's a euphemism for something more lurid. I hope not. But he's in 2nd place, 10 points back. Anjed Yaman is also 10 points back in 3rd place. Now, Yal Freitas sits in 4th place. He's 50 back, but he's not here today. But he's had a great season so far, but he's not here today. And then Bill Randerman rounds out the top 5, 55 back. So we'll see if James Stevenson can get a good qualifying race and maybe get that first victory under his belt for this season.
It'd certainly be a strange season if James Stevenson would manage to win it without winning a race, especially with how dominant he's been in the past in this series. Qualifying has wrapped up. Drivers can finish their hot lap. However, that is just the GS class that is out. So we do have a solidified ST field. Let's go through that real quick. Sergio Mora is going to start on the pole in ST. James Stevenson will start in 2nd, followed by Carl Williamson in 3rd. We'll see if he can do damage today. I'm Jed Yaman, one of our championship contenders, starts in 4th, followed by Thomas Torp in 5th, Stefan Oergaard in 6th, George Britton in 7th, Richard Losper in 8th. Then it's Matthew Reinhold in 9th, and rounding out the top 10, Bill, is Bill Randleman.
And after Randleman, we have Richard Holliday, Tom Eckline, Ed Voris, David Wemmen, and let's see if he's going to actually race today, Ospen Espety.
As well, we have Richard
Burton. There's one more down there, I'm sorry. And Richard Burton, I don't believe he's racing. But
no, you're right. I don't believe he's racing. That was my fault. I made the same mistake.
And I think he died years ago, too, but that's beside the point.
Well, we also have the GS class now wrapped up, so let's go through that. Brian Strodbeck is going to start on pole overall, and in GS, Doljon Boldrin rounds out the front row, followed by his teammate Arthur Hermont in 3rd. Sean Vandergriff, our winner last round, starts in 4th, followed by Nicholas Bailey, currently sitting 2nd in the championship, but 5th on the grid. Panu Pasanen starts in 6th, followed by Alexis Molina in 7th, Brendan McIntyre in 8th, Elliot Huffman in 9th, and Anthony Woodward starts in 10th.
Then Jeremy Nefanador in 11th place, Jason Lundy in 12th, James Alex Brown in 13th, Jeff Jacobs in 14th, Jason Breifogel in 15th, and then Jonathan Auger to round out 16 GS cars.
So as they line up on the grid, we're getting ready to do the pace lap, and then we will go green for 2 hours around Road America here in round 9 in the Continental Endurance Sports Car Series. Just a quick reminder, if you want to get a hold of us during the race, you can do so through Twitter at GSR Channel. Or if you just want to follow the world of GSRC, you can follow us on Facebook at /Global Sim Racing Channel. Also, we keep track of the comments on our YouTube channel. So during the live broadcast, if you leave us one, hopefully we'll get a glance at it and we'll try to answer any of your questions live on air through those comments or through Twitter. So give us a shout and we'll see if we can find time to answer your questions. So as we get ready to take off with the field solidified after qualifying, I'd have to go through the traditional picks. And Bill, who are you looking at in ST?
Oh, I like Sergio Mora on the pole, but that's not really fair. I think somebody that we're going to keep an eye on is Ed Voris. We never talk about him much. He's way down the list. Look for him to get a nice 7th or 8th place finish this week. That's going to be my guy to keep an eye on through the race.
Are you avoiding picking a winner today, there, Bill?
Oh, Sergio Mora is your guy. He just came off a win in the Blondie series. I think he's on fire, so I think he's going to go 2 for 2.
Absolutely. He won last round as well at Indianapolis. Ayrton, what about the Mustangs? We're missing a lot of top contenders besides Brian Strodbeck, I guess. So is it an easy pick for you?
Yeah, a pretty easy pick. I'm going to go with Brian Strodbeck. There are some fast guys in here, but I don't think they have the consistency that Strodbeck has. And he's a veteran of the series. He's been racing since season 1.
Yeah, in fact, usually when he manages to show up, because unfortunately his work schedule prevents him from attending regularly, he's a guy that goes up against the likes of Kimo Suominen, Dan Rash, back when in the early seasons when we had I'm sorry, I can't remember.
Trace McRae.
Trace McRae, thank you. You had been mentioning his name and it completely left me. He's the one that's always been up there and challenging just incredible pace, but today he could run away with it. We'll have to see if the likes of Boldrin, Hermont, Vandergriff have something for him. Few of the talking points that we should mention, obviously, in the ST field, Bill, draft battles. That is just going to be a mess for those guys today to try and figure out how that's going to come out.
I love this track. I think it's the perfect combination of a road course and like a roval. There's enough twisty sections to make skill come into play, but yet there's some long drafting straightaways that always keeps the racing exciting. Let's see if they behave themselves early in the race. It's a long race. No need to be too frisky early.
Absolutely, and we saw that in a previous broadcast with Blondies that some drivers don't quite understand that with endurance racing, and it is a skill to be learned. So, however, on the GS side, fuel apparently is a big talking point, Ayrton. We were talking about this before the broadcast a bit.
Yeah, these guys, they're going to have to make 2 stops, and I was talking to Elliot Huffman before the race, and apparently the Mustangs are actually really tight on those 2 stops, so I think fuel saving might come into a factor here. We could be really tight, and if a few cautions come out, these guys might try to go for a 1-stopper. They'll need quite a lot of cautions, though.
Yes, and we're actually not sure if we're going to get cautions. Usually they have a live marshal that drops those, but we're not entirely sure if we've got one today, so this could be a green flag run the whole way through, and boy, would that be an endurance race around this track for these guys. We are now heading through the kink. This is definitely a talking point to me, Bill. This, with both classes heading through, you're going to have to display some patience in traffic and just in general. Be wary of that corner.
Oh, it's frightening to race. Even in a simulated situation, I get nervous. I'm going to hurt myself there. I think it's one of the most exciting corners on the service.
Absolutely, and it's one that has bit me and many great drivers over the years. You have to really be right on the edge. Even in some of the fastest cars, you can't quite take it flat out unless you have gobs of downforce, which these cars do not. So, as and Ayrton's making comments about my driving skills in the background here, but we're about to go green here, so pace car is going to peel off. We got one more corner to go, then we will get the green flag. Brian Strodbeck is going to lead them away. We'll have to see if Duljaan Boldrin can do anything to hold on to him at the drop of the green here. Pace car is going to head on up the hill. There he goes, off into the pits. Strodbeck under control of the field, waiting for the green flag to fall. And there's the green. Strodbeck gets a decent start there with Duljaan Boldrin holding on, but he's dropping back. And look at Sean Vandergriff comes up, gives a little bit of a bump track to Ashley. And just behind him, it looks like Hermont's taking a look up the inside. They're still 2x2. Are they going to make it cleanly through turn 1? It looks like everybody is nice and tidy. What's the ST start look like?
Well, Mora kind of jumped the start, but Stevenson laid back and got a nice draft on him, and Stevenson's going to take the lead down into the first corner, followed by Mora, and then Williamson in third place.
A lot of cars in ST already going single file, so everybody is really playing it patient there, knowing that they've got a long way and a lot of draft to try and pull up. Meanwhile, let's jump back to ST, because right now Strodbeck already under threat from Boldrin into turn 5. He's looking around the outside. It's still a little early to be fighting very hard, so he gives it up, and that allows Strodbeck to start to pull away. His teammate, meanwhile, Hermont, pulls up right behind him, and Vandergriff has slotted down into 4th.
Panu Paysonen managed to get around Nicholas Bailey for that 5th place position.
Now, Bailey's been having a phenomenal season. In the past, he's been a bit of a mid-packer, but his consistency this season, Ayrton, has put him in contention for the championship.
Yeah, he's been having really good results, like not forcing any issues at the start of the races. Like he just gave up position at the start of this, and he's probably going to think about trying to get it on later on in the race. So not making any risk early in that. I guess that's how you do it, by staying consistent.
Now, looking at the ST class, and James Stevenson already ahead of Sergio Mora in the lead there, and actually putting just a little bit of distance, which could be critical, Bill. If he could stretch a gap, that could help him out throughout the rest of this race to be able to control his destiny.
The start was really interesting when the steward called out green, green, green. Mora actually went for it. He didn't wait for them to go to the straightaway like he should have, and started it on its own. Now, in 3rd and 4th place is Amjad Yaman in that kind of brown and white colored car, and then running nicely in 5th place in that, I'm calling it the Foggy Notion colored car, is Thomas Torp. And then a little ways back is Stefan Overgaard running in 6th place, as Stefan goes very wide into the kitty litter, onto the grass, and comes back. He's going to lose a position to, who is that he just lost the position to?
Looks like George Britton, his teammate,
George
and
Britton,
actually
yep.
He's about to lose another one to Matthew Reinhold. Reinhold slips by on the inside, coming into the final corner, and that's going to be another position for Reinhold up into, I believe, 23rd overall, should be 8th position, I believe, for him.
I think that's right, yep. Now,
So,
it's hard. There's all these, the AMS cars have these kind of diagonal stripes on them. There's about 6 or 7 of them here today, led by Stevenson and Mora up in front, but those guys are all on the same team for you guys who are watching.
Now, the interesting thing in that is usually our 2 big teams are AMS, and then the other one is 49 Motorsports in the ST class. And Bill, poor Amjad's kind of the lone representative for that one today.
Yeah, his teammates in the booth here. He was asking Ayrton if he could come down and help him get a draft during qualifying, but no, we wouldn't let him do that.
No, that wouldn't be very sportsmanlike, and besides, he'd actually already signed up as a spectator, which means you can't. Meanwhile, looking 3rd place, Carl Williamson already looking to the inside of Sergio Mora. Williamson is not in the hunt for the championship, so this is all just for the win here today for him.
You know, and I think that's actually, he's going to get an over and under here. I think, nope, he's going to hold it off, but here comes Amjad's going to take 3rd place. Look how wise Amjad could have forced that issue. Amjad Yama could have forced the issue there for 3rd, and he backs off. That's smart racing.
And that's one of the reasons why, even though he's a rookie in this series, he has always shown up well in those endurance races. He just knows how to play it patient and play it strategically. So look for Amjad Yaman later in the race. Even though he's sitting in 4th right now, he could be a player later on. So right now, ST Field, really not a whole lot of excitement going on. So let's jump back over to GS, see how things are. Brian Strodbeck is starting to stretch his lead over Dual-Jean Boldrin in 2nd and his teammate Arthur Hermont in 3rd. In fact, all those guys in the top are really just panning out here, Ayrton, as Panu Paysonen in 5th has a gap as well. And finally, we get some cars competing with Sean Vandergriff in 5th and Nicholas Bailey in 6th.
Yeah, it looks like actually Nicholas Bailey has fallen back quite a bit. I think Brian Strodbeck definitely has the most speed out of these guys, and because I think Brian Strodbeck really.
Other than just Bailey dropping back, Paysonen is on a charge. He's past Bailey, and Vandergriff is going.
Looks like Elliot Huffman actually catching up to these guys as well, as they slowed each other down.
So we might see a 3-car battle here going soon, and Vandergriff once again could have had Huffman to really close Woodward. So we've got off track, holds it together, but it looks like he's going to lose a position to Elliott. Some apologies going on from Sean Vandergriff. I guess he thought maybe he was a little bit too argy-bargy. I didn't quite. Vandergriff has gotten by him and taken that 5th position back, so back into the top 5 for this is a relatively tepid start, I have to say, Aaron. Everyone is just really paying it patient in both classes.
Yeah, I don't think we've had a single instant throughout the field, maybe just a couple small. At the moment, I'm actually looking at Panu Pace for that podium.
Right, Bailey after Bailey had a bit of a sloppy exit coming out of Canada. Exit, though, Alexis could pull the draft and maybe get a pass down. Looks like it's just not enough, so Molina is going to stay in that 8th position, and the number 75 has been one of the Carl Williamson trying more last lap, I believe it was, but right now, more.
The 4 guys up front have been very, very polite, and they're just running 1, 2, 3, 4. This Torp is doing his best to try.
He's another rookie to the series and another AMS guy, and he's been doing fairly well. Look at this, another AMS driver, yep. Overgaard, after his earlier mistake, burn 5. Kind of keeping a watching eye.
Let's get Austin Espity in 25th place, and then my guy, Ed Forrest.
He's currently sitting 11th. He thought that he hadn't had quite enough practice, and he's actually one of our commentators at times, working 20 hours ago, and he's on some weird time zones, Bill, down in Australia, so I think he might be up during...
Seem to care what things go on. I think they understand that they live on the wrong side of the world. They just do stuff when it happens.
I'm not going to be there when Richard approaches you about what the wrong side of the world is, but right now he is holding on to the backside of Matthew Reinhold in that 7th or 8th position, actually, just keeping a watchful eye. And Stefan Overgaard making good on that pace as he's actually starting to pull away after making that pass a little bit earlier on Reinhold. So I don't think I'm surprised that Reinhold can't hold on through the draft.
Yeah, and Britton went through and made short order of those guys. Losper's going to get by Reinhold here any second, I think.
So, interestingly in all this, we've heard James Stevenson express distaste for Rovals before, and it was mentioned that this, I think it was you that said that this is almost like a Roval with its long straights for these lesser powered cars, these MX-5s. And it's almost seeming like that's exactly what's happening right now, is we've got Carl Williamson, Sergio Mora, Amjad Yaman, and Thomas Torp all kind of saving fuel, just staying right in line for this first part of the race. And I can't imagine that Stevenson is too happy to be sucking up fuel for these guys up in front.
Yeah, and maybe Ayrton could speak to this as well. You know, even though there are twisty sections for these little cars, it's a relatively pretty fast track. Boy, it's a nice race up, though, at the front if we can get our director up there. There's 5 cars in a nice parade. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, all behaving themselves. But maybe it doesn't lend quite as much to the technical aspect of it, but certainly Stevenson is not being able to pull away from Williamson, and Moore is hanging in there too. It's even hard to say who has pace, you know. You really can't tell if one car is faster than the other because you can't get away.
Absolutely. Yeah. Whoa, and a little bit of a bobble from Williamson there under braking for the hurry downs. Go ahead, Eric.
Yeah, I was just going to say, I mean, it kind of like it's like everyone loves draft tracks because like it's like, oh, you get to pass people more, it's more racing and stuff. But when it comes to endurance racing, these guys, they're just sitting until the last lap to make any moves for position when it comes to draft tracks. So they're just sitting back first pit stop.
So taking an early strategy. Meanwhile, look at Sean Vandergriff right now and Elliot Huffman. In fact, look at Nicholas Bailey using the draft from Huffman. He takes a peek on the inside of Vandergriff. I don't know if we can switch over to that. We're still looking at the ST at the moment. There we go. Down into turn 1. Bailey still has the inside. He's looking to get that spot back. Alexis Molina is behind them in that green and white Mustang. And it looks like a bit of a chop for Nicholas Bailey as Vandergriff holds on to that position. But still, 1, 2, 3, 4. We've got Huffman sitting in 4th, Vandergriff in 5th, Bailey in 6th, and Molina in 7th. All right in line as they head down the Moraine sweep, Ayrton.
Yeah, and if any of these guys make a mistake, there's actually a longer train, a little bit more separated behind them, that goes all the way down to 14th place. So these guys are all still very close in the mid-pack.
Whoa, and Nicholas Bailey, whoa, and he's getting past, actually, absolutely freight-trained. I think he might have gotten a slowdown penalty for going off-track. That's a new one for this course, that you get it's considered off-track to be off to the right side there at turn 5. Because I cannot think of any other reason for him to slow like that.
Yeah, me neither.
So, a lot of positions lost for poor Nicholas Bailey after he was showing so well. Now, one thing we haven't talked about, because we don't really talk about it much with it being such a long course here, is lap traffic can come into play eventually around here. And that, I think, is going to be a big deciding factor if we don't get any cautions as to these guys being able to break this draft and really get away from each other.
Yeah, and it more comes to, I mean, it comes into effect with between the ST and GS cars, because on a lot of these corners, the ST cars are just as fast as the GS cars, and that could be a real problem for some of these guys. Thankfully, it does have a lot of straight, so it can help. But if there comes to be like some big battles between like multiple cars, it could be difficult for them GS and ST to cooperate a lot with that lap traffic.
So you mentioned a little bit earlier, as we continue to watch Alexis Molina, Panu Pasanen hopping into the pits for an early stop. He's got about his hour and 45 minutes left to go on the clock. Now, he has a completely clear track for a long ways until Jason Breifogel, who is the last car in line who has not stopped. So essentially right now, I wonder if Pasanen might have a good idea here to just keep rifling off some fast laps by himself, not have to worry about anybody.
Yeah, what I'm interested about is because Elliot Huffman said that the GS cars can only just go off 2 stops, and they're actually really tight on fuel. But I think that's a fairly early pit stop for Panu Pasanen, so I'm actually wondering if he's doing a 3-stop strategy, or I don't know what he's planning really.
Not entirely sure, but right now we are watching Elliot Huffman, who got a good launch out of turn 3, now heading down the moraine sweep. Sean Vandergriff decides to stay defensive off to the left side, but Huffman has the run. He's starting to nose ahead. The question is, can he outbrake him into turn 5 here? They're just about even. No, they're not even under the brakes as Vandergriff slides right on past and gets back into the spot. Elliot Huffman is going to go back down into that 5th spot.
These guys have already dropped back 12 seconds from Brian Strodbeck in the lead, which just shows Strodbeck's speed compared to all these other guys in the field.
In fact, the gap right now is 5 or 6 seconds actually between Strodbeck and Boldrin in second, and then another second back until Arthur Herman. Whoa, there was a bobble there that we saw on screen from Sean Vandergriff, but it looks like since that short straight to the carousel isn't really a passing zone, Huffman was not able to capitalize. Let's see if he can close in as they approach the kink here down the Kettle Bottoms.
You know, going back to the Panu Pasanen early pit stop, I think he did that. He initially decided to do that because he's behind Hermont and Boldrin, and he was thinking since they're teammates, they're going to be able to just draft each other, and it would be too difficult for him to pass them. And I think he was pretty confident that he had the speed, so he wanted to get into free air rather than being stuck behind them.
So it sounds like already strategic thinking from Panu Pasanen. Meanwhile, as we ride along with the pink rear wing of Sean Vandergriff, Elliot Huffman was closing in under braking but couldn't do anything. Just behind him we can see Alexis Molina, who was definitely closing in under braking, and I think he's lessened that gap by a significant amount as the Spaniard is trying to hold on to these guys and see if he can crack into the top 5. Still very early days in this race. We're not even a quarter of the way through, Aaron.
And Strodbeck cut a whole nother second ahead of Doljon Boldrin that last lap, so he's definitely just extending his lead, but still battles forming within this mid-pack. You're right, Alexis Molina definitely catching up to Huffman and Vandergriff at this point.
Now, I'm trying to remember. Actually, yeah, he was ahead of Matthew Reinhold because he passed him earlier. Stefan Overgaard must be having a bad race because, once again, he is a long ways back from Matthew Reinhold, Bill. Did he make a mistake?
I can tell you what happened. He took a little nap and missed his braking point and just pretty much had to stop the car and spin it around and bring it back on the track. He was running down, he was leaving Britton behind. I don't know if he's going to run down Torp to get to 5th, but he was comfortably running in 6th place. He's back down to 8th now, just ahead of Richard Losper.
You know, with these long straights, I think you just about could take a nap in the ST cars.
Honestly, he just, I don't know how to say it other than he just missed it. He just flew into the corner and just had to do a little donut and bring it back on. It was disappointing, but he's got pace. He'll be back up there. It's a long race.
Yeah, you know, I think that's one of the things that we should touch on, really, is that with these long straightaways, there's really not much of a rhythm, as Thomas Torp actually goes off track coming out of turn 1, but I think he's going to hold on to the draft. But there's really not much of a rhythm around here, Bill. It's all just long straight until you wait for your braking point to show up.
Yeah, the 5 guys who are running up front in this class are just keeping the same distance all the way through. I'm wondering, again, maybe Ayrton can speak to this. I wonder if there's much benefit to running second if Stevenson is using up more fuel, and maybe on a long race like this, maybe it'll come back to haunt him. What do you think?
Well, if you're sitting in second, you're definitely saving more fuel. In fact, the guy who would be saving the most fuel out of all these guys would probably be Thomas Torp. And so in your pit stop, you have to take, if you can save enough fuel to go one tick less on your fuel gain when you make your pit stop, then you can actually gain a lot of time through the pit stops.
Yeah, and maybe you don't want to jump him now on this pit stop, but I mean, if you can get Stevenson to lead the way here for an hour and 50 minutes, maybe that's what Williamson would like to have happen.
And it honestly looks like that's what is happening so far. These guys are not making any indication that they're looking to make moves or do anything. If anything, though, we are seeing a bit of separation as Amjad Yaman and Thomas Torp have dropped from the top three. Sergio Mora at the tail end of those guys in that black and blue AMS machine you can see now. So we've got 2 AMS cars and a lone flyer in Carl Williamson and the black and red machine there sandwiched as now they head down the Kettle Bottoms into Canada Corner. Going to complete lap 8 here soon. I'm curious to see, Ayrton, where the lead GS cars are. When exactly are we going to see some lap traffic come into play? Because that is probably going to shake things up a whole lot more.
Well, Brian Strodbeck he's pretty far away from the last car in line, which is David Wammond in the ST class. So we won't be seeing lap cars in quite a few laps.
So obviously a bit of time, and we're still not sure if we are going to be seeing any cautions or not. And if so, this is definitely going to be an endurance race. It's going to be a lot harder for these guys to stay focused for that amount of time and really pick out their strategy. No time to stop and think, no time to really cool down and be able to collect your surroundings, collect your competitors, and figure out how it's best to play things out.
I got a battle. Come back to me. I got Ed Boris, Bill Randleman, and Tom Eckline in a great battle here at the back of the pack of all the racers. I don't know why I'm on an Ed Boris kick here today, but he's having a nice race, but Randleman's running him in.
Well, if we can get some excitement, we'll take it today. And it looks like Randleman's going to give it to us as he looks on the inside, heading down into turn 1. In class, this is for 11th and 12th. He's got the speed. He could be fully clear by the time they hit the braking zone, but he's going to stay on that inside line as they slow and hit the binders for turn 1. And he's got it cleanly as now they slot back into line just behind them. Eckline is just kind of keeping an eye on both of these guys, Bill.
There's some excitement for it. I had to dig deep to find that one, but I have seen a pass.
Well, I was going to say, these guys, and we always say it, and you hear it in a lot of racing, but it's so true that it doesn't matter what the position is for. Guys, if they're a racer at heart, they are going to claw for every little thing. Even if you're in dead last place, the honor of not finishing in last place is enough to spur these guys to fight hard.
I'm actually interested with Nicholas Bailey at the moment because he qualified in 5th place, and we talked about how he was dropping back at the start of the race. And at the moment, he's just struggling to battle with Anthony Woodward for 7th place. So I can't tell if he's just focusing on trying to just go slow and steady with the race, or I don't know.
That's where I wish we had our old expert of Kevin Brown. Usually he knows how these tires behave on these Mustangs. And I'm curious, maybe it is something where he's not trying to push the car too hard and just hold off his pace, keep something in for the last few laps.
Yeah, and in that case, with Sean Vandergriff and Elliot Huffman battling so hard, they're both still sliding around. If you switch to them, I mean, he is going to have fresher tires since he's just kind of cruising at this point.
Yeah, we didn't see it on screen, but coming out of turn 5, Elliot Huffman was all kinds of sideways trying to collect that car on the exit. He's got it going again. He didn't really spin it or anything, just kind of lost a little bit of time to Sean Vandergriff. Now you can see as they head into the hurry downs, turn 8 there, and off into the carousel. So right now, actually, let's go through the top 5 in each class since things are still pretty settled and we're about almost a half hour into this race. Brian Strodbeck is our overall leader and GS leader. Duljan Boldrin still holding down second, 8 seconds back of Strodbeck. Not far behind is his teammate Arthur Hermont. Then in 4th, it's Sean Vandergriff in the pink machine. followed by Elliot Huffman and that pink and white 49 Motorsports car. What does the ST top 5 look like, Bill?
Me. It's Stevenson, Williamson, Mora, Yaman, Torp. And you know what it was last lap? Before that, Stevenson, Williamson, you know what it was the first lap? Well, okay. It was Mora in the lead. So Mora did have the lead for like half a second, and then he lost it to Stevenson, and now he's lost it to Williamson. But pretty much those 5 guys have been pretty straightforward the whole time.
You need some coffee or some tea back there?
Well, I'm making fun of it, but it's really kind of pretty to watch these guys pretty much racing in formation, and every once in a while, Amjad Yaman, he's like, hey, is he going to lose the draft? But yeah, he got way back there, but he brings him in. I think this draft has a really big toe because Amjad Yaman got way far back, and it wasn't long before he got back up.
And we can't slag on this too much. Yes, it's a bit of a. It might be a bit boring for some viewers right now to see everybody just kind of stay in line and not challenge right now, but this is going to come alive in the last 15 minutes of this race. I guarantee you, Bill.
No, and I'm really enjoying it because I guess if you're a hardcore race fan, you understand what's going on. It's really pretty to watch these 5 guys. And if they make a mistake, they lose the draft and their race is over. So it's like Thomas Torp, he's got to race every lap perfect to hang on to these guys. So it's interesting to watch that way.
Absolutely, yeah. I mean, first from a strategic viewpoint, thank you. It is interesting and fascinating to see who can actually play patient long enough. Because, man, I can't imagine trying to focus that long just holding onto the car in front for an hour and 45 minutes and then trying to go. That's going to take a long time, and trying not to get bored in the car, essentially. I know it sounds weird, but sim racing's a little bit different from real racing. You don't have that adrenaline quite the same. So these guys have to, keep their eyes open as much as someone who doesn't like to see them line astern for this long.
Well, I'd like to talk about Ayrton's point about fuel mileage. Thomas Torp is within 2 seconds of the lead. Actually, the second and a half of the lead. If he has a great pit stop, he may find himself in the lead when it comes to the end of this race, and who wouldn't want to be in front?
Exactly, yeah, and it could come alive sooner than that.
We got a little action here. It looks like Sergio Mora made a mistake, and now he's dropped back to 4th place.
So, finally, a change of position. And how exactly, I'm looking back real quick. Looks like he just missed his apex there, and Amjad Yaman said, thank you, I'm not going to lose these front guys, and breezed on by.
We were just talking about concentration, and there you go.
Absolutely. Well, right now it's not over for poor Mora as Torp is side by side with him. This could be what Williamson and Stevenson are wanting, although I don't think they're going to lose Yaman now. Yes, they close up under braking for turn 5, and I think everybody is going to get back into that draft. But this time now, it is Stevenson, Williamson, Yaman, Torp, and Mora bringing up the tail of the line in the blue and black AMS machine.
And with all this draft that we've been talking about, I mean, I can't help just to mention that there's 2 kinds of people that love the draft for certain reasons. There's the kind of people who are the same speed as the person in front of them, like Carl Williamson on James Stevenson, and he's just sitting back to save fuel, not really trying for a position. And then there's people, I want to say Thomas Torp, I actually don't know his speed, but I get the impression that he's a slightly bit slower than the rest of these guys, and he's actually happy that he has the draft because he's used it to actually keep on these guys. And I've been in both situations where I'm behind a driver that's faster than me, and I'm just glad that there's draft for me to even keep up with them.
Yeah, it gives you an opportunity to challenge someone that you wouldn't normally have the pace with. So some of these guys, such as Thomas Torp, like we said, probably struggling just to try and stay up in this, could finish higher than he would if he was just out there by himself. So as the race continues on, we just about have hit our first half-hour mark. We've completed 11 laps in these ST cars, and we've got these top 5 all still within roughly a second or 2 of each other. And they head on the front straight up that huge hill. And look at this. We got a car already peeling off. That's Sergio Mora deciding to take an early pit. This is interesting.
Yeah, I'm not sure. I was going to talk about, I think Sergio was happy to sit in 3rd place. I'm not sure he was happy in 5th place. That's not really his nature. So let's see what happens here. Now, I'm not sure, again, Ayrton maybe can speak to this. I'm not sure if he needs to fill up all the way. You know, he could probably not take a full load, right? And then take the full load next time.
Hold on 1 second. I'm seeing that he says he's got a black flag. So if we don't have a marshal, he is not able to clear that. I'm not sure how that happened, if this is the case. But I guess he looks like he's taking tires and fuel. So if he did have that black flag, he must be serving it at the same time. And just behind and on screen, we can see Stefan Oergaard taking his pit stop as well. Go ahead, Bill.
I'm rewinding. I don't see anything that would cause that. I don't see an off track that he didn't serve. I don't know.
It's bizarre if that's the case. We'll have to talk to him post-race and see if we can get some information on if that's true or not. Regardless, yeah, this strategically could be the death of his chances, and he is coming out right in the middle of these GS cars. So not only is he going to have some GS guys coming up behind him, they are going to pit and have to come back past him again later on.
Yeah, I think he came out even slow to let those guys go by. So we'll keep an eye on this. This is interesting because he was right there, so we'll see how it plays out.
So somewhere as we were focusing on that, Carl Williamson, you can see on your screen, is now ahead into the lead, ahead of James Stevenson. I wonder if that was intentional. I'm going to go back and look real quick and see if Stevenson just gave it to him.
I'm looking at it right now, and it looks like he pulled over and...
he gave him the inside line down into 5, so I suspect...
Yeah.
I know Stevenson well enough. He is a smart character, and he's complained about these draft tracks before. So I have a feeling this is him saying, well, you got to run, go for it.
He absolutely did. I mean, I don't think Williams was that happy to take it either. It's like, go ahead, no, you go ahead, no, you go ahead.
And I've seen and been involved in situations like that on Rovals, coming onto the final lap, where coming into the infield, me and another driver have just been going extremely slow because neither of us wanted to be in the front when we get to the Roval.
It's like bicycle racing in the what do they call that? The autodrome. Where neither one wants to go.
Absolutely. Go ahead, Ayrton.
Well, just going back to Sergio Mora, I don't really understand why he would have pitted, because it's like they weren't exactly battling in that top 5. So if pitting for that reason, if they were battling and holding him up, would have been silly because they're not battling. So just being away from these guys, he's actually losing time because he doesn't have anyone to draft with. So unless he actually pitted specifically for that black flag, he's really losing out.
But Sergio's our pole sitter, so maybe he's thinking if he gets away from these guys, maybe he can run faster laps by himself. Maybe he thinks he's faster than Stevenson.
It's a bit of an interesting play, because if he would have sat at the tail of the line, he would have been saving fuel, or making fuel, as they say in racing. So it's a hard call. I mean, he'll be using more fuel by himself, as we see Stevenson move to the inside. Thank you, Ayrton. And I wonder if this is Carl trying to let him by. Stevenson doesn't want to go. He tries to not outbrake himself. This is a ridiculous battle if I've ever seen one.
Maybe Thomas Torp can go up and lead a little bit.
Exactly. Well, now finally Stevenson says enough with this, and he slots up ahead of Carl Williamson. Williamson still looking a little bit on the inside. They're still going side by side. They almost touch through the right-hander that heads into the hurry downs, but it's Stevenson that comes out ahead. So after only 1 lap following, it's back into the lead for the pink and purple car of James Stevenson.
Well, I'll tell you who isn't playing games is Sergio Mora. He's back there running fast laps, so if that nonsense keeps up, it just plays into Mora's hands.
We'll have to keep an eye on what the lap times are like between Mora and between these guys. Now, remember, Mora might have to deal with traffic from the Mustangs, although that's less of a factor since they can just breeze on by on the long straightaways. Let's see if Williamson tries to get by this time, or if he actually just lifts and waits. As they head down the Kettle Bottoms, down into Canada Corner, it looks like he is just going to wait this time. So I think both of them don't want to be up front in these early stages. So as we have some fighting for lower positions, it sounds like, let's hop over there. Ayrton, what are you looking at?
Oh no, I was just saying how the ST guys were fighting for positions, but they're fighting to get into lower positions.
Yeah, they're fighting to have not a position. Here comes Thomas Torp.
So Thomas Torp, he's
they're all coming
actually,
in.
yeah, wow, actually, yeah, that's, is that everybody? Did Amjad Yaman stay out? Amjad Yaman decided to stay out. Curious, and we were pretty sure that Yaman didn't have the pace of some of these guys, so this will be interesting to see. As Stevenson is now in his pit stall, so is Carl Williamson, as well as Thomas Torp. And Carl Williamson missed his stall by some margin, had to back up twice.
Yeah, that's going to be tough to overcome that.
Well, Sergio Mora, remember, has already pitted, so let's see where he is going to be once these guys come out of their stalls.
He's coming down the straight right now.
And it looks like James Stevenson is out of his stall, but he is in the ST class, so that means he's got a ways to go down the pit lane. Where is Mora? Mora just crossed the line. He's going to have the momentum. Is it going to be enough? It looks like he put in the fast laps that he needed. He's going to just close in on the back. And look at that, right on the rear bumper of Stevenson. He's still got the momentum, though, and he's going to move to the inside. I think Stevenson might actually be letting him by.
Yeah, I don't see any reason why Stevenson would fight for that lead there, but Mora's got to be feeling good now. He's out in front.
Interestingly enough, also Torp jumped Carl Williamson. And where is Williamson, actually?
Well, Williamson was doing his hopscotch in the pits, yeah, so he's way back.
Williamson has exited out of the session.
Outside of pit lane.
Interesting. I wonder if we can get a replay of that. That's
he just
bizarre.
went straight. His computer might have failed him.
There he is. There he is. Carl, wake up! Oh, right. Carl, this went straight in. Oh, Carl. I hope he's okay.
I don't mean to pass judgment on character, but we have known Carl Williamson to give up when a race doesn't seem to be going his way. I'm not sure if that was intentional or if he really did have a hardware failure. But
it looked like there was no input into the car,
yeah.
So I think if he gave up, he would have like spun or something. He went just straight.
Yeah.
So it sounds like he has had some problems with a Fanatic wheel, and it looks like Amjad Yaman, however, is not going to have a problem entering the pits as he slows down to the pit speed, and now he is going to take his stop, see if he can jump these guys. It's interesting that we're seeing so much variance, Ayrton, in this first pit stop. I would have expected all 5 of these guys to pit all exactly the same time.
Yeah, definitely. I'm keeping an eye on Yaman right now because Stevenson should be able to get an advantage of gaining time by sitting behind Mora at this point. So Yaman really has to hope that he ran a really good lap last lap.
We are about to hit 40 minutes, and I believe Ayrton said it's about 42 minutes for these Mustangs. So these Mustangs should be stopping soon, and then we'll see them have to come back up through the ST cars once again. Amjad still sits in his stall. Now he takes off, so he's gonna have to get to that pit speed limiter exit as James Stevenson and Mora are just coming across the line.
Looks like Mora's not going to get there. I think Yaman's going to get out ahead of him. Easily.
Wow.
He's
interesting. So it's just about how it was, except now things have been reversed, essentially, because now we have Yaman in the lead, followed by Mora, and then Stevenson in third. However, we have some drivers who I believe have not pitted yet, and Matthew Reinhold actually is just coming in for his. Austin Espedy. Am I seeing correctly that he is going to, if he stays out next time, he's going to get a lead a lap? Reinhold is in and out already, I believe. So if Reinhold Espedy stays out, he's going to get a lead a lap bonus.
Interesting. The GS field, Sean Vandergriff is actually a 4-horse race for second pretty soon.
Remember what we were talking about earlier, Ayrton, is the tires, especially with so many slower corners, very point and squirt sort of circuit, as they call it, Ayrton. So
he's saving his tires because he really started.
As we watch Duljan Boldrin and Arthur Hermont tick off another lap, they are going to complete lap 16 and head on to lap 17 here with just about 40 minutes to go. So plane their team tactics. And as you said, Bailey is ended. So already now we're seeing.
I'm going to keep an eye on Panu Pasanen because remember, he pitted it very early. So I want to see if he actually comes out around the rest of the guys that were near him at the start of the race.
So, and it looks like as we watch Bailey come to his stall, Austin Espedy, who is coming by him right now, is going to get a lead a lap bonus. As the timing and scoring updates, there he goes. He is leading the ST field. Took Amjad Yaman.
Stevenson running in third, and poor Thomas Torp, he reminds me of Tom Hanks in Castaway, where he's on the raft and those away from him as I like Thomas Torp.
Well, his what was it, Foggy Gray car? Is that what it is today?
Foggy Notion.
Foggy Notion. His Foggy Notion car is current into fourth as soon as Austin Espedy takes his 426, currently sitting in fourth, which also will get bumped up into third eventually when Espedy comes in. Those are leaders that you can see, those three just ahead. Yaman in the green and white MX-5, and that is how it stands in the ST field, and not a lot of action usually up there, although now we've recently seen Mora take the lead there. So our Dualjean Vandergriff also heading in. And then I believe Bailey was the first of our leaders to stop in. So we'll get a sense of where exactly these guys all shake out once he starts to come by and once Strodbeck starts to come out.
So Pasanen actually is well ahead of Bailey and Huffman, who actually pitted at the same time as Bailey. So he actually has gained a lot of time through just running clean laps while everyone else was battling.
Good stuff from him. Now, I see that you mentioned in our chat that Molina is not around, and I checked. He is not. Did you figure out what...
Multiple level while running in 5th place, so probably internet problems.
If you're new to sim racing, as we see Strodbeck head out, and Nicholas Bailey's just heading on the front stretch, such is his lead. That is impressive stuff. So not even close for Nicholas Bailey. But anyways, if you're new to sim racing, when we talk about an internet connection going out, that means these drivers are no longer connected to the server that this race is taking place on. It means effectively you disappear. And we sort of equate that to being sort of like a electrical failure, as we tend to.
Mechanical failures. I have absolutely no problem with the internet disconnection. Oh, look at this battle. If you want to stick with this, Amjad Yaman is pushed bump drafting Sergio Mora. That was a little excitement going on there.
He's got to be careful with that, though, because if he damages the front of his car, he'll be at a disadvantage if he gets by himself.
I'm not sure. Maybe that's Yaman's way of saying no. I'm not going to take the lead. I'm just not going to pull around you. That's how you do it.
Well, I mean, you know, it does give them that little bit of extra speed. You can see that Mora stretched to a little bit of a gap, but not a whole lot. And that is the MX-5 of Dualjean Boldrin just behind them, trying to wait patiently to get around. He'll get a chance soon, although I don't know if I'd want to try and split these guys before they get to the kink. We'll see what kind of progress he can make through these three.
Hermont into the pits.
Meanwhile, whoa, Mora was actually fully off the track, we could see there. And, close moments! And Amjad Yaman not wanting to give up the draft. It looks like he might lose it anyways as he went side by side through the kink with Dualjean Boldrin. And this is going to allow Sean Vandergriff just behind. You can see on your screen start to close up to these guys. And now, finally, Boldrin is going to be able to try and work his way past Sergio Mora. Although he's gonna try and do it before this left-hander, and he's gonna go side by side once again. So what goes around comes around, and Mora is gonna be held up, and this is gonna allow Amjad Yaman to try and close in that gap that he lost in the kink.
You know, Joe, when you see a Miata in the parking lot at your supermarket, it really dawns on you how small these cars really are. And when you see it alongside of the Mustang, it makes the Mustang look like a Lincoln Continental, you know?
It really does. My brother is actually a longtime MX-5 owner, so I'm familiar with how itty-bitty these things are, and trust me, I give him a lot of trouble for being an owner, although I know they have a very rabid male fan base.
I I know where you're going.
I have to bother him about it some. I'm the younger brother of the two, so it gives me some sort of leverage. Meanwhile, Amjad Yaman still holds that second place as Austin Espedy has stopped in, and Sergio Mora in that black and blue machine is our leader in the ST class. Just a reminder, we are on Twitter at GSR Channel, and you can talk to us in the comments on YouTube. So ask us questions, leave us your thoughts, and we will try to address them or answer them live on air. We've got some time. This race has some slower periods where there isn't a whole lot of action, so I think we might be able to find some. Just don't wait until the last 15 minutes, because I think we'll be a little busy at that point.
I got show tunes prepared if we need them, okay?
All right. Well, I'm getting word. Sounds like Paisonen's on the move. Ayrton, what's going on?
Well, through all the pit cycle and Paisonen's early pit stop, he's now in second place, about 8 seconds behind Brian Strodbeck, so he actually gained a lot of time. My only concern for him is that he did have a really early pit stop, so I don't think he can make it on just one more stop. He's going to have to do 2.
Yeah, I wonder if maybe he was thinking about maybe 3 stopping, but it's such a long pit lane. I don't know if that's going to gain you any time.
Might have been betting on a caution, too.
This is true. We don't know if he's a native English speaker or not, and whether or not he heard them talking about the fact that they didn't have a marshal in this race potentially, because right now we've had no cautions, although we haven't seen any big wrecks yet, Ayrton. So the lack of cautions is, attributable to just being clean racing so far.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Ayrton.
Well, also the lack of cautions means that there's still a lot of cars driving on the track, which means more potential for wrecks.
This is true. Although for this track, it's a relatively small field. We started with 29 cars, I believe it looks like I'm seeing in the race grid. So that's about half capacity for this track.
Joe, what has happened as the Mustangs make their way through the little Miatas? They've kind of broken up the draft of those Miatas. They've kind of separated. It was hard for them to stay together. It's fascinating to watch the Mustangs work their way through. And now there's a good separation between Mora, Yaman, and Stevenson.
And that surprises me, to be honest. I would think that these guys were close enough on pace, or I would think that Stevenson was fast enough, judging by his qualifying pace, that he would be able to keep up with these two up front. But whatever the case, he is starting to get dropped, and right now Mora is looking like he is going to try and make it 2 for 2. We've seen a lot of repeat winners in this series. He got his first win last round at Indianapolis. Maybe he's going to go for another one.
And I think we got to give a little credit to Thomas Torp. He's doing a pretty good job. He's lost the draft, but he's hanging close to Stevenson. I mean, he's not getting blown away. So that's a good, respectable 4th place position for him right now.
Well, looking at him on screen as a bunch more of these Mustangs are starting to breeze through the ST field. In fact, that looks like German Afanador just ahead, and he is battling with the blue and yellow car, blue and orange car of Jason Lundy, and that is for 8th and 9th position. Now, Ayrton, we haven't seen a whole lot of German up at the front, and this is unusual because usually he is a top 5 runner in past seasons, but I guess it's just the depth of the talent this season.
Yeah, this season he really hasn't shown up that much. I mean, it could also be a lot of these guys practice a lot, so maybe just lack of practice can be a potential part of it as well. But he's normally a pretty fast driver, and he's also a hard racer as well, so I don't think Jason Lundy is going to have an easy time getting past him.
Well, right now as they head towards the kink, they're coming on 3rd place ST car, James Stevenson, and I think German's going to be able to get through. Stevenson actually goes defensive. Oh! And balks him. German is not going to be happy about that. That was a bizarre maneuver, Bill.
Yeah, Stevenson, I'm not sure what he was... He knows better than that. That's interesting. I'm looking at it again on replay. Maybe he just got confused.
Oh, and he just got tipped by Jason Lundy. This is not going to help his race. That's going to cause his car damage. And he gets on the radio expressing his dissatisfaction with Jason Lundy, although, Jason was kind of diving in a little bit late, but just a few corners more. You have to admit that Stevenson was making a very aggressive move into the kink, even though I understand him wanting to go single file through there, but I'm not sure that making a defensive move like that and then coming back to the line was
possibly the best way to communicate that one.
Yeah, you know, it was almost like he was pulling over off the racing line to let him by, but he knows better than to do that. You want to stay on the racing line so they know where you're going. I don't know what to say about that one.
Yeah, it's unusual. We'll have to potentially talk to him after the race. Go ahead, Ayrton.
I think he was trying to signal that he didn't want him passing into the kink because, yeah, like who wants to go too wide through the kink. I do think that going into Canada corner, that was, I think, who was it? Jason Lundy. He had a good enough nose. I think Stevenson should have given that position up.
And he wasn't, I mean, I understand every inch counts at the front, but he wasn't fighting directly at the time. And at the worst, with an hour and 10 minutes to go, he could have hoped that there'd be some traffic that slow those guys down in front of him, or that we do actually potentially get a caution somewhere. Now, we have had caution-free races in this series before. I'm trying to remember have we had a caution-free 2-hour race yet?
I can check.
All right, well, let's jump back to Richard Losberg, because I think he just gained a position over Matthew Reinhold there.
Those guys have been battling for a couple laps there, and they're talking to each other right now. Reinhold saying we're all good, and Losberg saying, oh, that was close. Yeah, these guys have a good battle going on.
And this is for 7th and 8th position. That's Losberg in the lead of the two cars in the white and black. They're both black cars, I know, but the GSR machine is Richard Losberg. Just behind him is Matthew Reinhold in that gold and black machine as they work their way around up into turn 6 there under the Corvette bridge, and completing more laps unscathed, even though they had a bit of a scary moment according to the radio. So I guess it looks like Richard's starting to gap him, so maybe he had the pace, and it looks like this battle could be over after we just saw the end of that one. Meanwhile, Sergio Mora continues to lead Yaman up front. Yaman is not being dropped. He's a little bit back, Bill, but he's holding on just by the skin of his teeth, it seems.
He's right there, and I think he's pretty darn fast. Let me see where he actually qualified. Yeah, he qualified 4th. He's about almost a whole second slower than Mora. So he's doing a good job. You know, Amjad and Joe, when the Mustangs pass you on the straightaway, are the MX-5s able to tuck in behind and get a tow from them to help them out?
You can try. I mean, we all try it. Like when I ran in this series, you always see if you can get that just little bit of, half a tenth or whatever out of it. But I don't think it really does a whole lot. I think it's mental.
Seems like they go by pretty darn fast.
Well, they punch a huge hole in the air, so. And Ayrton's asking whether or not we had a caution at Indy, and I don't believe we did, actually, now that you say that. I think we did go cautionless.
Yeah, so that was our first cautionless race then. Most of the other ones had like 1 or 2 or 3.
First cautionless in a 2-hour race. This is new for this season if you're new to the CESCS. Previous seasons had all run 90 minutes. This year it's bumped up to 2. Next season, we're hoping it's going to be bumped up to 2.5 like the real-world Continental Tire Series, which this series mimics to the best of its abilities, complete with rules, cars, and cautions.
My wife would vote against that, but I don't think she has much say in it.
Well, we'd love to have you back next season if you could, Bill. It's been a joy to have you in the booth, especially covering these MX-5s. Meanwhile, in the GS class, we are looking at Dualjan Boldrin, who has been run down by Sean Vandergriff. Ayrton, he has got the pace late, or well, not late in this race, but middle of this race. He has picked it up.
Well, all these guys have pace as well, because all 3 of them are catching up to Panda Payson and is sitting in 2nd place. He has those really worn out tires from that early pit stop, so he's actually struggling at the moment. These guys are going to catch up to him in the next few laps. I mean, they're closing in on him rapidly.
Whether or not Paysonen can go on a single stop more is going to be answered soon enough. He's got to make about 20 or so minutes, so he's got a little bit of a ways to go, but he can still hold out. Meanwhile, the ST cars, I want to stay on this battle, because Sean is closing in on the back of these 2 teammates, these red and white machines. The GS cars can go about
the pits.
Oh, so that, well, we are answered right away whether or not he can make it on 2 stops. This is going to be it. He is not going to make it to the end on this one. But anyways, as I was mentioning real quick, Bill, that the ST car should be able to pit with about 15 minutes to go. So we're going to see who's going to try early stops here, banking potentially on a caution. But we're looking at James Stevenson right now, Bill, on screen being hunted by Thomas Torp.
That's where I wanted to go. Look who's right behind him there in that battleship-colored car. Thomas Torp's done a nice job. You know, Stevenson got into trouble with the Mustangs when they went through. Torp's right there, and I got a feeling Torp's going to want to I think he's going to go on third place.
He's going to want a third place. Let's stay with this battle. Oh, he's actually sticking behind him. I was going to say, actually, since he's backing off, let's go to Sean Vandergriff, who went around the outside but couldn't quite hold on to it on Dualjan Boldrin there, coming around turn 5. He is all over the back of these guys.
And I think I figured out the pace in a mystery. I think he forgot to change his qualifying fuel from qualifying into the race.
Oh, that is something many of us have done, Ayrton, so he can't be too embarrassed.
Ayrton, Ayrton, you are like the investigative reporter. You dig for the information.
Well, it took me an hour to figure it out.
Let's hop back to that battle between Stevenson and Torp, because Stevenson is heading by now. And he is by into the braking of turn 5. Sorry to interrupt, but I was keeping an eye on 2 battles there, and this one was breaking out.
All right, so there goes Torp into third place. That's outstanding. Come on, Thomas.
I was going to say, it's a nice day for him. He's had the pace in the past. He just hasn't been able to capitalize on it. He's made mistakes. He's had late race wrecks. Things have happened to him along the way that I'm not sure that he's actually had a podium before. I'd have to check the stats on that one, or maybe Ayrton, who's really good at that one, can go look that one up. Since he's starting to pull away from the damaged car of Stevenson, he's going to want to get that fixed next chance he can get a stop. Let's jump up to Vandergriff. Gets a bad exit coming out of the final corner, so he's not going to be able to make that pass this time, I don't think. Still holding on to the back of Dualjan Boldrin and his teammate Arthur Hermont. These guys have been running just kind of line astern. I'm wondering if they are going to want to try and pick up the pace a little bit here to try and outrun Vandergriff, because right now Vandergriff has been hassling them for about a lap and a half. As they head through turn 1. This time he gets a very good launch, but this is not the corner into turn 3 that you really want to make a pass. He wants to set it up here, and you can see him already doing it as he brakes early, sets himself up for that exit, looks, and Carl is actually squirrely trying to get on that power as much as he can and close in down the moraine sweep to turn 5, which is the best passing zone on the course. Sounds like Ayrton has some information on Torp's finishes.
Yep, his highest finish is 5th place, and he's only gained 1 of those, so it's definitely one of his best runs.
Well, looks like Vandergriff took a try down the outside, but there's nothing doing around turn 5 there today, as he still stays on the back coming through turn 6. Now they're going to head into the hurry downs. Another potential passing zone. If the guy makes a mistake, you get a run. You can sneak one in, but right now he's just not close enough. You can see as they break for turn 8 here. And boy, if I was Dualjan Boldrin, I'd be a little bit nervous, because Vandergriff, I remember him hassling him at Indianapolis as well, Ayrton.
Yeah, Vandergriff has some real pace, and I actually wouldn't be surprised if he passes either of these guys. They may have qualified ahead of him, but they actually drafted together for qualifying or to get those really good qualifying laps. So Sean Vandergriff definitely has a lot of pace. He's hassling these guys.
Closing in up into the kink once again. Vandergriff just has to back off, and unfortunately that ruins his momentum. I don't think he's going to be close enough to be able to make a pass down into Canada Corner. We're on lap 24 for these cars right now, working their way towards lap 25. Yep, just line astern through Canada Corner. And he's going to have to wait until potentially turn 1 for his next opportunity, Aaron. And it looks like he has a little bit of traffic, and Matthew Reinhold up ahead.
I think that's Tom Eckline.
Excuse me. Those cars are very similarly painted. In fact, I think they're identically painted. So, as looks like they're going to breeze by, so no trouble from Eckline for these guys. And unfortunately, Vandergriff, once again, not able to get that run. I'm surprised that Vandergriff, especially with his speed, isn't trying to just back it up a little bit, get the timing right, and just really power out of one of these corners and try and blow by on the straight.
Yeah, that's one of the tricks with these corners, actually timing your passes, because you can, if you're smart enough, spend 3 or 4 corners just setting up a pass, rather than actually just thinking each corner on its own individual corner for passing.
This time he looked a lot cleaner. Gets a very good exit, but he might have been a little bit too far back this time. And I think it also doesn't help that poor Arthur, or not poor Arthur Hermont, but Arthur Hermont, or Dualjean Boldrin has the draft of Arthur Hermont to pull him upwards. So that's what makes it extra difficult for Sean Vandergriff to try and close in on these guys, because the guys he's chasing has the benefit of the draft as well. Oh, and this is his opportunity, and Dualjean Boldrin is very slow out of the corner. That was interesting. That wasn't a cut course for sure. I'm not sure why he was slow out of there. He must have just lost traction.
Yeah, I think he just got a bad exit. He had to brake a little differently. He had an awkward entry because he had to run on Arthur Hermont in front of him. So I think his awkward entry just kind of devastated his exit.
Oh, and this is the next opportunity as Hermont goes off track, but it's going to be side by side into the carousel. He tries to go around the outside and he manages it, maybe. And Hermont is coming up back on the inside as it's the shorter path around this very, very long corner. He's going to have the momentum. He should be able to get back in line before the kink. There he goes. And, oh, man, that was such a good opportunity for Sean Vandergriff, but wasn't quite able to capitalize. Not over yet. Now they head down the Kettle Bottoms towards Canada Corner. He's close enough this time. Hermont goes defensive, still trying to sneak up the inside, really pushes him all the way to the inside of the track. They make a little bit of contact, shoved off track. Arthur Hermont into the kitty litter, and that means Dualjean Boldrin gets 2 spots back in the process.
Oh, I saw that coming as they're braking for that corner.
I did too. I saw him go all the way to the inside. I was like, I know why you're doing this, but this is not going to end well unless you guys break very early. Let's see if we can get a replay of that incident and see exactly how it unfolded. You can see coming out of the kink here, he's going to have just a little bit of a run. Vandergriff in that pink machine behind, and he's going to want to try and take it, but there's that little bit of a kink. And so Hermont pushes him to the inside. And that little tap was all it took with both these cars right at the limit. Traction was lost and often into the dirt went the 8 or 80 car. We're going to look at it from one more different angle. Let's see what we're looking at this time. On board, Dualjean Boldrin, who's going to gain 2 spots. This is handy racing from him to be able to kind of see this coming and back out of it at the right time, Ayrton.
Yeah, and yeah, it's kind of a similar scenario to the Columbus race earlier, where Bill was talking about Sam McAleer just sitting back and watching the guys in front of him wreck. So yeah, the patient game really helps out in some of these endurance races.
And you could see on the replay that Boldrin braked way, way earlier because he knew that those guys were going to be slow, even if they didn't make contact. That was very, very smart racing from him. So, unfortunately, it's not over between Boldrin and Vandergriff, as it looks like he's caught up to the back of him. So, he's still looking to get that second position.
Okay, Joe, this is interesting. Ed Voris put it in the wall. He's limping. So, if Richard Burton is actually a race steward, we might have a yellow flag.
Oh, he's actually exited out. He did find his way towards an exit point. They actually work it as though it was real life. So if there's a little slot in the wall, the virtual marshals can put it into the slot and get them out of the racing harm. So it looks like, now I'm not sure if we can get a replay if it was too long back to see what exactly happened there. Looks like it was out of the carousel for Ed Varas.
Yeah, Varas. I'm sorry, I picked him there. I jinxed him.
Yeah. We're looking at the replay now. It's going to be just a little bit. He's heading up into turn 6 in the replay, and it sounds like he's got a bit of damage we can see just so slightly on screen. Yeah, on the front of his car. There, you can see it there. So, damage for Ed Varas already, but I don't think that's damaged his handling. That's just going to damage his aerodynamics and that little not-so-powerful MX-5. So now we come into the carousel, and this is where it all starts to go wrong. When you start to slide wide, the momentum just keeps on carrying you, and it keeps on going with this long corner. There's no saving it. You can see just sliding a little bit too far out, wheels into the dirt, and it's good night into the wall Whew, that was a hard slam.
Yeah, he had spent about 5 minutes in the pits trying to get that damage fixed, so it's not been a good day for him. Sorry, buddy.
Well, we are back to live now. Just a quick update on both classes. Sergio Mora continues to lead and is hotly contested by Amjad Yaman following in his wake. Different story in the GS classes. Brian Strodbeck leads by 22 seconds. A massive gap for Strodbeck. He is waltzing away with this at this point. It's going to take a caution for these things to come back in, or maybe some lap traffic causing him a headache somewhere along the line. So those are our two class leaders at the moment, and we have recently passed the halfway mark. In fact, about 7 minutes ago, you can see on your screen, with 53 minutes left to go. Pretty soon, we're going to see possibly ST cars trying to take early stops to make it to the end, Bill.
Yeah, Joe, I think I gotta, I don't know if I need to apologize to Thomas Torp, or I don't know what's going on. You'd answer me. Why is Thomas Torp still ahead of James Stevenson, a 3-time champion? Maybe Stevenson's car got some damage from those Mustangs he had trouble with. I don't know. Maybe Torp is faster than I think. I mean, he's a mid... Oh, go ahead.
Remember, James Stevenson got run into by Jason Lundy earlier on in Canada Corner. So he has some damage probably, and that's going to be hurting his pace.
That might be it, because I see no reason why he would sit behind Torp if he didn't have to. Now, Thomas is doing a pretty good job keeping Yaman and Mora in sight, so it's still interesting. And real quick, I'm hogging the mic here, Richard Losper and Matthew Reinhold have been going at it all race, and a couple laps ago, Reinhold said, "I'm going to let you go by, Richard." I'm not sure if he cut him off or he's just tired of fighting with him. But they're back there. They're racing for, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, look like 7th and 8th position.
Well, we are going to go to a quick break, and Bill, I don't think you need to worry about hogging the mic at all, as long as you keep coming at us with Sir Isaac Newton metaphors and whatnot. But question is, who is going to be able to come out on top on this ST fight? Because right now it's still up in the air between Mora and Yaman. We'll be back in a moment. Welcome back to round 9 in the Continental Endurance Sports Car Series. Currently watching Jason Lundy try to fight it out with Brendan McIntyre over break. You can see on screen these guys are hotly contesting this 9th and 10th position. If you didn't get enough of Lundy today here with this battle, he's the organizer of a league that we are going to be broadcasting this week on Wednesday. So stick around for that. It's going to be GT3 cars at Interlagos. It's going to be good stuff. Meanwhile, he holds them off as they head into the kink here on lap 29 with 47 minutes left to go, Ayrton.
He actually just skimmed the dirt on the exit of the kink. That's like the scariest thing for a driver when you're going about 120 miles per hour and skim the dirt. It could just send you straight into the wall.
Oh yeah, you are on the limit of grip usually outside of there, as once again he clips just a little bit of dirt, and McIntyre hassling him the whole way right on the rear spoiler of that blue and orange Mustang. McIntyre in the black and yellow machine takes a little bit of a look coming in the final corner. Not really a passing place usually, just because you want to wait for this one. Get yourself a good exit, and he does get a good exit, and he's going to pull that draft all the way down the front stretch.
Now, Mora has pitted in the Miatas.
Interesting. So we mentioned as we watch this battle continue on down into turn 1, McIntyre is going to have the inside, but he gives it up, interestingly. We saw another car actually heading out of the pits. I didn't quite see who that was. So Mora already takes a stop. Yaman is not going to have anybody to cling on to now with the draft. So can he try and rifle off some fast laps at this point? Stevenson has been struggling with some damage after making contact with Jason Lundy earlier in the race in Canada Corner, right here where we're seeing him head through right now. But James Stevenson is sitting in 3rd, and I think that's actually going to be 2nd next time by the line.
Yeah, Torp has also come in, so Yaman and Stevenson are still out there.
Now, we were watching Torp, and he had lost the position to Stevenson a little bit earlier after he had been leading him, with Stevenson struggling with that damage. Did he manage to catch up? I didn't quite see if he had closed in or what.
No, Mora and Torp took their 2 stops, and Mora, I can't really tell the lead because of they're a lap down. You don't get timing and scoring that way. But it looks like I'm going to guess... Ooh, wow, he's way back. He is way back. Looks like maybe 10 seconds.
So quite a gap between Mora and Torp at the moment. In fact, on screen, you can't even see both cars together. That's how big the gap is. 16 seconds we're actually hearing between these 2 cars. Now, here's an interesting thing with Stevenson. Actually, that answers my question that I was just going to ask. Is he going to pit as early as possible? Because my prediction would be yes, to try and get that damage fixed and see if he can be any faster out on track, or would he be waiting for a caution to give him a chance to come in and get the damage fixed during caution so he doesn't go down a lap? And it looks like the answer is he's trying for as early as possible. He was 2nd last time by the line. He's going to start slotting down. Just behind him, we see the car of David Wammond coming in for his stop, and they're actually coming out side by side. Now, someone's going to have to give here so that Wammo can get into his pit stall. No, actually, he's exiting. So Wammo's coming out at the same time. He actually gives up the spot knowing that he is not competing with James Stevenson.
Stevenson still comes out ahead of Torp.
Yeah, but well behind Mora. So it's going to be interesting now. The real question now is when Yaman comes in, if he can get out next to Mora.
Well, Amjad Yaman continues on. Where is he actually on track at the moment? He is coming through the kink right now, so let's see if he comes in this time by. He is currently in the lead, and actually it sounds like, do we have a battle for 2nd and GS?
Yeah, Nicholas Bailey has managed to catch up to Doljon Boldrin after Sean Vandergriff left, so that slow and steady saving the tires is really helping him on these long stints.
And this is why we've been praising Bailey. So even though we say, he's consistent, he doesn't have a win yet this season, but he's in 2nd in the championship. He's been up at the front for most of this season. In fact, he was battling for the win in a couple of races. And right now it's looking like he's going to go for another podium here. And with the competitor that he's fighting with in the championship, which is Patrick Bieri, not showing up yet again, and already exhausting his drop weeks, this means that this could move him up into the front of the championship. Right now, his main competitor out on track is Sean Vandergriff in the championship.
I need to look back and see how many different GS championship winners we've had, but it looks like Nicholas Bailey actually making a move on the outside of Dual-John Boldrin, decides the better of it. Actually going very slow at the moment. Maybe I think he missed a gear while exiting that corner.
From what I understand, it's pretty easy to do in these Mustangs as well. They're a bit prone to it. Right now he's going side by side with Sergio Mora and apologized over the radio for that one. We're still watching Dual-John Boldrin, though. Did Amjad Yaman come in, though? No, Amjad is still out on track.
He is the doctor of pits topology, and he has yet to come in.
So where does one go for school for pits topology? I have to be curious.
Penske University. I don't know.
Penske. That sounds good enough for me. Well, he is the doctor from Dallas, and that's why we were talking about pits topology for Amjad Yaman. He is usually strategically one of the most sound drivers we have out there. So even when he doesn't have the pace, he is able to work himself up into leads or in great positions just by figuring out what is the optimal way throughout this entire race. Right now, he is leading, but he has yet to make his last stop of the day, and he's got 41 minutes left to do it.
Ayrton and Joe, I'm not sure the strategy here. Mora came in and got tires. I guess you're going to get new tires no matter when, but if he's not careful, Mora's gonna gap him when he comes in for a stop.
I think it trades off because at the end of the race, then Amjad will have newer tires. So I think it kind of trades off in that sense.
This is very true, and you also have to consider if they're close enough to be able to hold the draft on each other, then the tires don't matter at all. It's all down to a strategic game of cat and mouse at the end.
Yeah, but with the new tires, Sergio Mora might be able to gain a gap and break the draft through the pit cycle.
This is true. Well, we'll see if he decides that it is about time to get in. He is going to be well within the pit window here as he comes through the final corner. Amjad Yaman in that child's play machine, a very honorable cause for him, and he does in fact head on into the pits. So, where is Mora at this point? Mora is coming up to the kink, so this is what we've been seeing comparably before of when people are heading in the pits. If they're heading towards the kink, they're going to come out right about at the same time.
It seems so far away, but the pit lane is so long.
It is, and you're going so fast for much of that as well, you have to consider. Just a quick update, Thomas Torp is behind James Stevenson, but he's caught up to him, so those two are running line astern for the 3rd and 4th positions in ST class.
Yaman's taking his tires, now he's just waiting for fuel.
As we continue to watch this battle, we're keeping half an eye on Yaman and Mora. Yaman takes off. Mora is now heading up the hill. I think Mora is going to have him, actually. It's a long ways to that pit exit there, Bill.
Yeah, I think Mora's going to go by him just about now.
This could be critical. Oh, and he's not by him, though. No. Wow, he has gotten him by some margin. Impressive. Yeah. Oh, and he's off track, though. Yaman goes into the grass, pushing every inch. He was 2 seconds quicker on that stop.
Torp just got by Stevenson.
So position changes all around. Amjad Yaman now into first, leapfrogging Sergio Mora in the pits, who sits in second. Thomas Torp makes a pass on track to get third on James Stevenson, who sits in 4th. And then a long ways back, you have George Britton rounding out the top 5 in the ST class.
Yeah, Britton and Randleman are in a nice battle for 5th and 6th.
Credit to Randleman, he's been having a good season as well. He is currently sitting 5th in the championship and 6th on track, excuse me. And Randleman, let's see, where did he qualify?
Yes,
he was well down the order.
Yeah, I wonder if Randleman maybe has only taken 1 pit stop. He sneakily got up there to 5th place.
And he could be up to, well, he's in 6th place at the moment. He could be up to 5th if he can get Britton. But you have to give a lot of credit to Bill, because in his very first season, he had a number of contacts that raised the ire as we see a car off track, and that is Jason Breifogel and that red and black and white
Mustang there coming out of turn 5. I'm not sure if he actually hit the wall there. He certainly seemed to have out-braked himself. No, actually he did hit the wall. He got on the gas a little bit too early coming out of turn 5, it looks like. But I was going to say, as we look at the damage on Jason Breifogel's machine, Bill Randleman has cleaned up his act. Since those first initial incidents where he raised the ire of other drivers, he has been in competition for the Mr. Clean Award, which goes to the driver with the fewest average incidents over the number, compared to the number of laps that they've done. So, and I believe he's in contention for that again. And he is in the top 5 in the championship now. So this is a guy who's not only cleaned up his act, he's found some speed. He is looking very good this season.
Yeah, it's a lot easier to gain a reputation than it is to lose a reputation. So that's a good job from him.
Absolutely. I tip my hat to him. Although I have seen he has not lost his temper. If you get in, do him wrong in the race, he will let you know over the radio, that's for sure. Meanwhile, we're watching Sergio Mora coming up on the back of Amjad Yaman for that ST lead, so he has run him down for that draft.
Yeah, now let's, Ayrton and Joe, if you're both in the Mustang and in the MX-5, where do you want to be in the last lap? Do you want to be in second place?
I think in the MX-5 you want to be in second place. In the Mustang you want to be in first.
There you go.
Well, that doesn't take into account as Bill Ranneman actually headed into the pits. If we do somehow have a caution, keep in mind that if you are in the lead in those last few laps in the MX-5, then you get the lead at the end under caution. So I don't know, it's a risky game to play. You're assuming that no cautions will happen. It seems like a safe bet today. We've had only a few run-ins and only one car that was really stranded, but it was able to pull off to the side and was given permission for a tow. So I'm not sure if we're going to see a caution today. Find some wood to knock on somewhere. 35 minutes to go. Everyone's been racing relatively clean.
Well, we have seen late race cautions at Road America just because people start to heat up as it gets closer to the end of the race, and people fight really hard on this track. I don't know what it is about this track, but people like to fight really hard on it.
Must be something in the cheese.
I bet you Amjad Yaman is checking the standings to make sure Dexter Castro isn't in the race today. That's an inside joke for guys who watched a couple races back.
For those not familiar, Dexter Castro and Amjad Yaman are 49 Motorsports teammates, and poor Dexter Castro missed pretty much every possible opportunity to pull his car aside when he blew his engine and prevent a yellow flag. And the yellow flag came out, and his teammate Amjad Yaman was in the lead by a margin of something like 12 seconds. And late in the race, the yellow made it go away, and he wound up not winning it. So yeah, I have to agree.
Sorry, Dexter, for bringing this. This is too fun to teach, Dexter.
Since this isn't really a battle that we're watching, just a quick side note to that story too. This is true, actually. Amjad Yaman actually gave a map, and the next race, which is Indianapolis, gave a map to Dexter and circled every single exit point that he could for Dexter to tape to his wheel, so that it didn't happen again. But I don't think Dexter was at the last round anyways.
Boldrin into pits. He's going to be battling with Sean Vandergriff, but Sean Vandergriff is coming out of the final turn right now, so I think he might beat him.
And this is Boldrin's second stop, correct?
Yep.
Yes, it is. So, now the strategy starts to really make itself apparent, see who is going to come out ahead. We're looking at Sean Vandergriff just coming on by. Oh, it's going to be ever so close. They're side by side down to the braking zone. Yes, he does. Excellent stuff from Sean Vandergriff. Just snuck by, but now this means the battle is on, because he is going to be holding on to that draft behind that pink and black machine.
And Boldrin has those nice, new, fresh, wonderful tires on that Mustang, so he's going to have a big advantage in these first few laps.
Coming up on some traffic in the ST field here. That is Stevenson and Torp. They're going to just breeze on by down the Moraine sweep. Should have plenty of room, although it looks like Boldrin is compromised ever so slightly on entry. And there goes Stevenson on by Torp. Sees a gap and just goes on and takes it. And decides the better of it and actually slots back in line. So what do I know, apparently, Bill?
I don't know what's going on there. I'd like to get James in the booth after the race to see what he's doing behind Thomas.
I suspect he's holding on as long as he can at this point. Maybe going to try and pass him in the final bits. He's going to keep losing potentially. If his damage is still hurting his lap time, he could still lose to George Britton, even though Britton's a little ways back. We've got a half an hour. So, I mean, all it takes is to keep losing time down those straightaways from this aerodynamics, and Britton could just breeze on up to his teammate. Although, with him being a teammate, maybe there could be team orders coming into it.
And guys, what I love about mixed class racing, in just a few laps, you're going to see the Boldrin get up there with, in the Mustang, it's going to get up there with Yaman Mura. And Mura does not want to lose the draft of Yaman. So it's going to be interesting as those guys go side by side, Boldrin right now.
And, oh yeah, that battle is on. We're looking at it on screen right now. Boldrin does manage to get past, so he reclaims that second spot from, or excuse me, no, let's see, what position is that actually there?
It's going to be second. Arthur Hermont
That's
is
right.
in the pits right now.
Yeah, oh, and almost off track there. Actually, he did have 2 wheels off for Sean Vandergriff. That means his exit out of the final corner is bad, and that means that he is going to lose time hand over fist down the front stretch. You can see how much that gap is extended, how critical it is to get good exits out of corners. And just behind them, don't forget, we've got Nicholas Bailey, who is not too far back, and he is probably going to be looking for a podium. In fact, Nicholas Bailey comes out ahead of Arthur Hermont, it looks like.
Joe, I got bad rods and cones in my eyes, but is Vandergriff's car pink?
It is indeed pink. He is.
And just to kind of Strodbeck is, he managed to do his pit stop. First of all, not lose the lead. He managed to go into pits. We're 2 turns away from the final corner.
Whew, just impressive. Today. We haven't given him a lot of screen time. There he is. You can see him, that number 7 turn 2 motor. But yeah, he has just been out front, in case you forgot, and been completely unfazed this whole race. In fact, I haven't really on Sean Vandergriff. Not only does he have a breast cancer awareness car, he did say that even though he couldn't be here, that for wins looks like another $20 are going to be going in this series. When Van felt like he had stolen the
took the money out of the paws of.
Don't make me cry.
It's left to go. We are in the final. The question is, at what point start fighting it out? Because they do have a gap back to Thomas Torp. How big is that gap?
Coming up on him here any second.
Up the back
of his
late. That heading into turn 6, Dualjean Boldrin split them up, and look at the man. I have for a pass each other these 2 different classes. They have been incredibly aggressive. We see the long straightaways would allow them to get by each other.
Yeah, see, that's where Amjad wanted the pass made. He didn't want to give it out.
Well, I think, unfortunately, that defense didn't do him many favors, and now they've got and he's going to slip up and lose a lot of time. He just missed the apex there, but didn't seem to lose too much ground. Of this, right down the front stretch, Sean Vandergriff is just going to cruise by. No trouble to him. And just behind them now, we've got Nicholas Bailey as well heading through, and he should clear these guys by the time they hit the first corner. And you can see that gap on your screen between Amjad Yaman and Sergio Mora. Lost quite a bit of time, but it's not that draft. He is going to just be right on top of that rear bumper.
Yeah, and we have Amjad and Joe. We have no idea who's faster between those guys.
Yeah, we haven't really had a chance to feel out who has the better pace between them. Although remember that Amjad Yaman had a bit of a gap when he exited the pits. So I'm not sure if the draft pulled Mora in or if he closed him down all his own, but I guess we'll figure it out now. With 25 minutes left to go, we've got time to see if it's legit or not.
Apparently I've been Amjad for half this broadcast as well.
Oh, sorry about that.
Well, at any rate, that battle between Boldrin and Vandergriff has gotten separated a little bit as well. There's about 2 seconds between the second and third place machine. Meanwhile, looking at Jonathan Auger, this battle is between himself and Lundy for a top 10 position. Lundy going defensive down the Moraine sweep.
Yeah, passing on the outside of this corner is really difficult. You just need a really good run. You can try crossover. It looks like Jonathan Auger might give that a go, but it's definitely difficult to pass on the outside there. It was a good move for Lundy to defend that inside position.
I was going to say, I've seen that happen many a time, actually, the over-under switch out of turn 5. It's not a long stretch down to turn 6, but if the other driver is compromised because they tried to go deep under braking on that inside line, all you got to do is just back your car up, make sure that they don't steal the apex from you, and then just fire it off and slip by the inside into 6.
These guys as well, I should check if he's actually made all 3 of his pit stops now. I think he has, actually. Yeah, he's made 3 pit stops. So he's good to go until the end.
Yeah, and boy, that has to be an awful feeling for Payson, because he obviously had the pace. He was holding on to those top guys up there, and this has absolutely spoiled his race. It just goes to show you have to have all your ducks in a row and really nail everything to be able to win and do well in this series. And Lundy gets on by George Britton coming through Canada Corner, goes a little bit wide, and now Britton is going to be overtaken by Jonathan Auger as he just slips by before the left-hand kink here.
Sean Vandergriff is headed into the pits again. He might have short-fueled it.
Huh. Well, this is not going to help him at all. In fact, Elliot Huffman is already by. German Fanador is by. Brandon McIntyre is going to go on by. Wow. He is going to drop a lot of positions here.
Yeah, he just did a stop and go. Yeah, he short-fueled it.
Oof. Oof. Unfortunate for Vandergriff, but at least he recognized it early on. The worst thing you could do is wait until the very end and not give yourself a chance to regain those positions. By the way, that is, in fact, you can see on your screen, Brendan McIntyre in the yellow and black machine behind him, so he did not lose that position to Brendan McIntyre. So Sean Vandergriff is going to slot into the seventh position.
Yeah.
And Joe and I've been calling Ayrton. I called him Amjad by mistake. I'm not used to calling him Ayrton because few people know that his true name is Alalaberry. I'm not joking about this. There's a long story about Ayrton and how he got his name named after Ayrton. Well, we'll get into that in more detail sometime.
Well, in Blondie's last season, we had a Brad in the booth somehow as well, so it's
right.
not. Sorry, apologies. Inside joke with us here, but anyways, on screen we're looking at McIntyre, and actually McIntyre seems to be closing up on Vandergriff. That's interesting.
Yeah, I think Vandergriff might be a little bit held up from Stevenson ahead as well. This area of the track is actually pretty difficult for the Mustangs to pass.
Hey, Bill, remember how we were wondering what the pace of Sergio Mora was, if he could run down Amjad Yaman?
He has ran him down.
He has indeed. He is well within the draft. 21 minutes left to go. Right now we're on board with McIntyre, though, who is closed right up on the back bumper of Vandergriff, who's looking to get by Stevenson. Hopefully they'll have room this time. Stevenson is going to be on the outside of McIntyre, and he nicely hits that apex. Both of them slowed down just a little bit, but now they exit Canada Corner and look to try and take down Thomas Torp in that gray machine.
And look at the distance Torp has put on Stevenson.
Yeah, this could be exactly what Torp wanted, to try and break that draft to Stevenson and keep him from sniping him at the end there.
Yeah, I think Torp's in good position for a podium. We're not supposed to play favorites, but we always like the underdog to do well. So come on, Thomas, let's get a podium in.
Well, he's looking handy for it. It's going to be his best finish in the series. Meanwhile, also looking handy, Brendan McIntyre in the draft coming down that front stretch, but he's not close enough by the time they hit the braking zone down into that fast right-hander of turn 1. He is just going to run over those rumble strips on the outside and hope for a better run out of turn 3.
And Elliot Huffman actually split Amjad Yaman and Sergio Mora while battling for that lead. Elliot Huffman is actually battling with German Fandor, who's made a really good comeback to fight for that 5th place position, but it looks like a little bit of traffic coming up.
I believe that's Jason Breifogel, actually. Oh, sorry, that's a lapped car.
Yeah, he was trying to pass Jason Breifogel while trying to pass Amjad Yaman at the same time.
We are still on board, though, with Brendan McIntyre. who is, although this is well, there's good reason to be on this camera here because McIntyre has really been hassling Vandergriff, and like I said earlier, this absolutely shocks me that McIntyre in 8th is giving so much trouble to Vandergriff, who has been running in 2nd and 3rd and 4th almost this whole race and looking like he's had great pace.
Yeah, I can't quite figure out. The only thing I can guess is that because Vandergriff didn't take tires in that last stop, it was just a stop and go, and his second pit stop was actually fairly early. His tires might be quite a bit older than Brendan McIntyre, so those fresh tires might be helping McIntyre quite a bit.
Absolutely, and as they head through the kink, pulls a little bit of a gap on McIntyre, so he's got some breathing space now. Cars that don't have breathing space are Amjad Yaman and Sergio Mora. One little mistake is going to change the shape of this race in the final 18 minutes, Bill, and I am just keeping half an eye on them to see when Mora decides it is go time.
And just behind them, the Mustangs have just done Stevenson no favors at all as they've got between him and Torp is way out in front now.
Oh yeah, that's got to be something like it looks like a 6 or 7 second gap between them at the moment.
Yeah, it's just a matter of luck. I mean, they caught Torp on the straightaway, and they seem to catch Stevenson right at the twisty part where they slow him down. It's really interesting.
I'm sure the Australian is going to be complaining about traffic after the race, especially after his run-in with Lundy down in Canada Corner that absolutely compromised what could have been a race win that he has not yet had in this season, despite leading the championship. However, this is going to help Amjad Yaman, currently sitting in 2nd in the championship right now, tied actually.
Yeah, Mora and Yaman are 10 points behind Stevenson. I don't know how the drop races plan as you start like spinning plates. Who knows what happens? But certainly, certainly 1st to 2nd is going to help them out as compared to Stevenson 4th.
Yeah, about 10 points back. I don't think he's going to catch him, but it's definitely going to help him cut into that lead. Remember, this is Amjad Yaman's freshman year, his rookie year with this series, even though we've seen a lot of him on GSRC, especially in the MX-5 and the Blondies World Tour. And as well, we've seen him race quite a few other endurance series, and he has shown his ability there. Well, he's showing his ability this season here in Season 5 of the Continental Endurance Sports Car Series, and right now, he's hoping to notch up his 3rd win. In fact, if he does this, Bill, he'll be the first driver this season to get a 3rd win.
Yeah, you gotta love the way he drives. We talked about it early in the race where he said, nope, I'm not going to go there. That was back late, like lap 1 or 2, where he said, I'm going to wait, bide my time, and here he is out in front.
Right now, he is working his way past Tom Eckline, who unfortunately compromises Sergio Mora coming through the kink, but they both managed to go through there 2 wide with no dramas whatsoever, and I think that is going to get caught right back up just like we saw before. I give Sergio Mora maybe a lap or 2, and he's going to be on that back bumper of that green and white machine once again.
Yeah, as long as that doesn't happen with a minute or 2 to go, I think he's going to be fine.
Right now it's 16 minutes to go, so he is going to have his opportunities to try and do it. And in fact, at about 2.5 minutes a lap, we are looking at, let's see, it should be about 6 laps, am I right?
Yeah, sounds about right.
Math was never my strong suit, so don't take my word for it. Maybe we'll have to send Ayrton off to do that or something. Does sound like we have some battles developing for 2nd and 5th in GS. Let's hop over to that. Ayrton, what have you got?
Well, Nicholas Bailey is hounding down Doljon Boldrin for that 2nd place. He's a little bit farther back at the moment, but he did cut off half a second in the last lap alone. And then there's also the battle for 5th. German Fandor has caught right on the rear of Elliot Huffman. He's within draft range, so those are both battles that are going to probably come down to the wire near the end.
Championship situation is a 10-point gap between 2-point gap between Bieri and Bailey, so Bailey should overtake the points lead after this race. Sean Vandergriff, however, with his being mired way down, is not going to gain as much. Steve Brown is sitting in 3rd in the championship. He didn't show, so that's not going to give him much either. Elliot Huffman is 5th in the championship, and right now on track, he is 5th as well. So he is going to look good, possibly gaining a few spots, being ahead of Sean Vandergriff and I believe that's the only person he's ahead of. But the other guys are no-shows.
Yeah, so this is definitely going to be a good points rally for Nicholas Bailey and Elliot Huffman as well. A little disappointing for Sean Vandergriff since he was really battling for that second place all race long.
This could be one of the most bizarre seasons, Ayrton, we've seen in the Conti Series. You and I have been involved, whether announcing or racing it, since its inception 5 seasons ago. And we have never had a season where a champion did not win a race. Right now, we have the leader in the championship in ST. Stevenson hasn't won a race, not looking likely to win it today. Bailey looking likely to overtake the championship lead after this race, not looking likely to win it here either.
Yeah, didn't bother Isaac Newton, man. Isaac Newton.
Well, as we look at Brendan McIntyre still on the back of Sean Vandergriff, just has not been able to shake that yellow and black machine. So we could see Sean Vandergriff down into 8th position if McIntyre gets punchy in the last couple laps.
Oh, Mora got devastated by, let's see who that guy is in the Mustang.
Is that Alexis Molina? Oh, it's Anthony Woodward.
Woodward, yeah. Really not Woodward's fault, but Woodward's got to get out of there.
And Amjad is fighting him fiercely. Oh, Woodward is going to get out of there.
Don't hit him.
Woo. Oh, that was a heart-stopping moment for Sergio Mora. That car wobbled back towards the racing line. I was like you guys, I thought that was curtains, but Anthony Woodward gets the car going. And in fact, he lost positions to Jason Lundy and Panu Pasanen, as well as Jonathan Auger. So a number of positions. In fact, the only car he didn't lose position to is Jason Breifogel, who was a lap down. So that essentially put Anthony into the final position on the lead lap of all the cars. In fact, he's off the course yet again into the kitty litter of turn 1. But we're seeing a battle between Pasanen and Lundy, it looks like, heading through turn 3.
Woodward's car could have gone either direction on that. And hey, Mora is going to make a move on, is that Amjad Yaman? Yeah, Mora's making a move.
So now he decides with 12 minutes to go, now is the time to make it happen. He's on the outside of Yaman, but Yaman outbreaks him. Is he going to try the over-under that I mentioned before? It looks like he's going to have the momentum, and he is definitely going to have it down into turn 6. He's got a nose in. He could outbreak him if he wanted to. Just sneaks it in, and they've got Lundy and Pasanen battling just behind them. Those guys are not going to want to give up position. They're side by side now, heading into the right-hander, into the hurry downs. It looks like Amjad has the inside of this corner, but he's going to be the outside coming into turn 8. And they've got both Mustangs trying to go side by side behind them as well. Pasanen on the inside of Lundy. Mora takes that first position away, and Yaman gets balked. But now he's trying to be he's going to be overtaken by these Mustangs who are trying to look for a way around. Pasanen got balked, and he's on the outside of the carousel. That means he might not have the momentum. No, he gets the speed, and they are going to be able to slot into line, but he's not going to try and move for the position as Yaman signals to say, do not pass us right now. And now they're going to finally get their opportunity. Oh, and look at Mora weaving all the way to the side. He's going to have to stay off to the left now as Pasanen moves on past. Lundy tries to dive up the inside as well. He's going to have it. And it looks like Mora was a little bit wiser than we saw earlier with Lundy and gives him the apex. They've also got, is that Jason? No, that's Jonathan Auger working his way past now that they are finally all the way fully by. But look at this. His momentum is ruined by Auger, and now Amjad Yaman is going to get back past him. He tries to come back in the braking zone, but he misses the apex with Amjad Yaman parked there, and now it's a track race, Bill, down the front stretch. What a lap.
Nice call, Joe. That was great. You know what I think Mora wanted to do was get ahead of Yaman before the traffic came through. He didn't want those 3 guys to split him. And look at these guys side by side. I think Amjad's going to have the advantage here.
He is all the way down to the wall. Now he starts to come back to the racing line, try to get the best entry possible. Just a slight nose ahead from Mora. And, oh, he's just barely above. They go side by side through turn 1, off into the grass for Mora. He keeps his foot in the gas, not willing to give up his momentum. Down into turn 3, 10 minutes to go. It's Amjad this time outbreaking him, but this is not the position he is going to want. He tries to park it on the apex, doesn't quite work. Momentum goes to Mora, and this time he's got the inside down into turn 5.
Not over yet.
It is not over in the least. We've got, what, about 3 or 4 laps to go for these guys. On board with Amjad Yaman, just starting to pull behind. They've got a car behind them. I think that's Anthony Woodward. And it's going to be under braking for turn 5. Mora taking back that first position. Whew, Ayrton butt in if something starts to happen with the Mustangs, but I think we got to stay with this. This is what we've been waiting for. Once again, all the way off into the grass, all 4 wheels into the dirt for Sergio Mora and the blue and black machine. That AMS number 99 using every bit of the track and then some. Look at him all the way to the line. A little bit of a bobble. He might have put 2 wheels into the dirt once again, but he finds the apex somehow. Amjad Yaman's just holding station behind him, knowing that all he has to do is be in the right place at the right time, just behind them. We can't see on screen because we're on board with Yaman, but Anthony Woodward is waiting very, very patiently for this battle.
And Thomas Torp this text to Amjad Yaman that Mora thinks he's stupid, and then he taps to Mora and said, Amjad, he thinks you're dumb. He wants those guys to find out. Torp is salivating. He can see the victory right before his eyes.
He's a long ways back, so those guys are gonna have to run into each other. Anthony Woodward up the inside of Mora, down into Canada corner. Mora is able to get the apex and actually carry the momentum better than Anthony Woodward. Same thing with Amjad Yaman, carries that speed. He's gonna have the inside coming through this left-hand kink, but it's gonna switch back in the final corner, and his doesn't have the momentum through that fast left-hander. That means it's gonna be a nose ahead for Mora this time, but he's gonna have not the optimal line, which is gonna go to Amjad Yaman down on the front stretch. Along with that, he's gonna get the draft, and once more it is a draft battle down the front stretch. We saw this a lap ago. It's deja vu all over again, Bill.
Oh, hello, wake up everybody, the action has started.
It took a while. It was a pressure cooker, but right now it is boiling over, and we do not know who is gonna have this in the ST. Both of these guys have gotten wins. Looking for a second one for Sergio Mora, edges him out of turn 1. Looking for his third one and possibly getting into a championship lead for Amjad Yaman. Now heading through turn 3, down to the Moraine Sweep, another drafting zone. Once again, Yaman able to pull the draft. Which way is Mora going to go?
It's going to stay right in the middle.
Is going to bump draft him down the straight. Let's hop on board with Amjad Yaman. He is bump drafting his competitor. Now he pulls to the side, looking off to the outside into turn 5. Is he going to outbrake him, or is he going to pull it over under? He's going to try and outbrake him. Just misses the apex, tries to carry his speed. He has some speed and then some. Moves to the inside. He is going to be more than halfway up that car. And look at it, clean as you like through turn 6. Amjad Yaman takes it with a very nice outsmarting move through turns 5 and 6.
That's some good racecraft there.
That is why we call him the Dr. Bill. That is some smart racing from him.
Oh, I hate to bore down the show, but Nicholas Bailey has caught right back onto the rear of Doljon Boldrin, so this battle for second is on.
So Absent, he gets balked just a little bit by Matthew Reinhold, unfortunately. So his momentum for that one is ruined. 6 minutes to go. And we'll stick with this one because right now Mora and Yaman are a little bit separated.
It's settled down in the Miatas. The Miatas have settled down, so go ahead and take the other one.
Yeah, butt in as soon as that starts erupting. Right now we're looking at Nicholas Bailey down into turn 5, hunting down Doljon Boldrin. Boldrin stays to the inside. This is what we saw in the ST cars just a moment ago, but he's not close enough. Is he going to try that same over-under move, or is he going to get balked at the apex? Looks like just not quite enough momentum as Bailey just clips the dirt, and he's going to have to wait for another corner to try and get it done, but he's got some lap traffic just ahead of him. This could be what he needs.
So the interesting thing here is Boldrin's highest finished position is actually 7th place. So this 2nd place is definitely something that he wants. Nicholas Bailey has gotten 1 2nd place and 1 3rd place, so yeah, so he's still fighting for this podium to extend his championship lead.
And that was Whammo, David Whammond, who ducked out of the way in that ST car that you saw and let both of those guys quite nicely. A little bit of a gap separating them through the carousel, but since he caught him up before, I'm sure he can catch him up again. And like we were saying, Ayrton, it seems like It seems like Bailey has been the smart one the whole race, just conserving tires and completely unleashing things later on.
Yeah, it's definitely helped him out, but the tricky part is actually passing. We've already seen this race. Passing in the GS car is a lot more difficult than passing in the ST car.
Yeah, they don't quite have as much draft, even though these are huge cars just breaking the air and not very aerodynamically sound on the front. With those little pug noses on these MX or Mustangs, they've got the oomph compared to the MX-5, so they aren't as susceptible to that draft. But right now it looks like he might be susceptible as they head onto the front stretch. Nicholas Bailey got a very good exit, and you can already tell Dualjean Boldrin feels under threat. He goes all the way to the inside.
And it's just an example of how different the draft difference is between the Mustangs and the MX-5s. He closed up, it was significant, but like if an MX-5 was in that scenario, they would have been side by side going into turn 1.
Absolutely. It's a completely different race strategy, completely different mentality, and different driving style, you have to say as well. Braking now down into turn 3. Look at the body language of the car of Nicholas Bailey. He is just hulking and just hunting him down, looking for an opportunity. And right now, heading down the Moraine sweep, I don't think he's going to be quite close enough, so it's not going to be this time by. He's got 3.5 minutes still left to do it. A couple more laps, closes in. It's going to be just a little bit too little too late down into turn 5. Going to have to look for another chance. Maybe down into turn 8, give him a surprise. So as we watch this battle, we do have a close one going on between Payson and Lundy and McIntyre as well. 3 cars, and Lundy gets the spot from Payson as he gets slowed up by McIntyre through turn 1. Is Lundy going to take another spot? This car is damaged. Both those cars are damaged there in those 9th and 8th positions. But Lundy's going to have the draft heading down the Moraine sweep.
The battle for the ST lead, Yaman and Mora side by side as they go across the front stretch.
Mora actually led the lap, but I think Yaman's going to have him here. No, Yaman backs out.
Oof, I was wondering if Yaman is waiting for the last lap. Oh, but he's got the speed. Once again, all 4 wheels off for Sergio Mora. Mora's not going to get the clean bonus there, that's for sure, this race. He has had plenty of offs this race. Meanwhile, side by side through turn 3, this is not what we're used to seeing. Nobody is looking for a draft this time. It is a straight drag race down this long Moraine sweep, and it's just a slight nose ahead from Mora, but that could be different later on. Nobody seems to have an advantage over the other, still side by side, still nobody giving way, heading towards the braking zone of turn 5. Who is going to have the edge? It looks like they are just about dead even, but on turn inside goes to Mora, and trying for the crossover, Yaman, oh, he gets blocked as a defensive maneuver from Sergio Mora down into turn 6, does not get as good of a run. Oh, it is, the gloves are off, Bill. These guys are throwing everything.
Oh,
wow.
Nicholas Bailey almost got by Dualjean Boldrin. They went side by side into turn 1, going 3 wide while passing Richard Losper as well, a lap car, ST car. And Nicholas Bailey just missed out. They actually had side by side contact going into that first corner.
It's hard to tell where to look. We have got to get ourselves a split screen or something here. This is incredible stuff in both classes. Meanwhile, Sergio Mora still has Amjad Yaman, who we are riding on board with. So Sergio is that car in the black, blue, and green just ahead of us. You can see closing in on the draft now through the fast kink right-hander down the kettle bottoms. He's going to have that draft. Is Mora going to go defensive into Canada corner? We've seen him go very defensive in the previous one. Yes, he stays all the way to the right. Is he going to come back to the racing line? No, he stays very far to the right. Yaman could have the over-under here. It looks like he is. He's got way better momentum, gives him the space, and breezes on by into first. We've got 25 seconds left to go. Where is Brian Strodbeck? Strodbeck is going to get the white flag next time by. He is coming through the kink, so they are going to get one more lap for this battle to settle itself for first place in ST.
Let him keep going extend the race.
That's exactly what these guys aren't wanting, I think, at this point. And they've got a Mustang coming up behind him. Oh, but he slows down because he gets balked by Sergio Mora, who moves to the left. I think he wants none of this. He knows this is for the lead between these two cars. That's Jonathan Auger behind them. Right now, we're still on board with Yaman looking to the left into the AMS car of Sergio Mora. Yaman on the inside has that nose. And are we going to see him go? Actually, is Strodbeck getting to the checkered flag? Strodbeck might be getting the checkered flag. Yes, he is. Strodbeck is going to win the race, I believe. That the win is going to go to Brian Strodbeck for round 9, definitively. Meanwhile, it looks like the second place battle is just ending. Let's hop back to that. In the Mustangs, Duljan Boldrin just has a nose ahead of Nicholas Bailey.
Fifth place.
It's not going to be enough.
Oh, Fanador and Huffman actually have contact for that 5th place battle. Huffman going on the outside of Canada corner. It looks like Fanador is going to get that position.
And the podium is going to go to Duljan Boldrin in 2nd and Nicholas Bailey in 3rd. Meanwhile, we're watching a Fanador in 5th, I believe. Yes, that's going to be 5th for a Fanador. Let's jump, however, over to that ST battle because it's not over yet. They are heading down the Hurry Downs, down into turn 8. Amjad Yaman is leading, but is he going to be able to hold on to it? He pulled the over-under through Canada corner last time. Is this what Sergio Mora is going to pull this time, Bill? They've got only one more real passing zone, or it could be a drag race through the draft down to the finish. We'll have to see.
Not sure if he's close enough.
Yeah, he is starting to lose it. He is not nearly close enough. This could be it, unless he's looking for a last corner snipe with the draft down to the start-finish line. All race, these guys have been right next to each other, and now Sergio Mora just starts to lose it. Could it be that Amjad Yaman, he makes a wild dive. He is trying everything for this, but thankfully does not run.
The grass while braking.
Oh my goodness. So I guess that wasn't a wild dive. That was just an unfortunate braking zone. I don't think he is going to be close enough for anything. Amjad Yaman looks like if he is able to get this corner right, if he has the fuel, he's going to be a 3-time winner in this season. In his rookie season, Amjad Yaman, looking to close the gap on the championship, is going to win for the 3rd time here round 9 at Road America in the Continental Endurance Sports Car Series. Sergio Mora is going to follow home in 2nd, not very far back, and Thomas Torp, his first podium in the series, is going to grab that 3rd place ahead of Stevenson.
Nice race from Thomas, and Stevenson gets 4th.
Boy, damage control from Stevenson today, that's for sure.
And George Britton's going to come home. Nice top 5.
And heartbreak for Stefan Overgaard. I think he's run out of fuel.
Unless he finished before. Did he finish?
Yeah, he was a lap ahead. A lap behind, so he was already done.
They have to make it around to the pits by the rules, so he must have run out of fuel on his way back or something there.
Actually, he spun on the exit that corner and hit the wall.
So just not the day that poor Stefan wanted. Well, that's the finish. I believe all the cars have crossed the line. Let's go to a break. We're going to try and get some interviews for some interesting races for everybody. Stick around. We'll give you the unofficial results, and we'll talk to some drivers.
Welcome back to Road America. After round 9 in the Continental Endurance Sports Car Series, Brian Strodbeck blew away the competition by nearly half a minute. Dualjean Boldrin came home in second in GS class. Nicholas Bailey was third. Arthur Hermann in fourth. German Afandador managed to crack into the top 5. Elliot Huffman finished sixth, with Sean Vandergriff sliding down late after having to take a third pit stop, finished 7th. Jason Lundy was 8th, with Brendan McIntyre in 9th. Panu Pasanen in 10th, Anthony Woodward in 11th, Jason Breifogel in 12th, and Jonathan Auger in 13th. What did the ST finishers look like, Bill?
Amjad Yaman took the victory with Sergio Mora in second place. Thomas Torp, a nice podium with 437 off-track incidents on his record. James Stevenson was fourth. Stefan Overgaard, a nice fifth place. Richard Losper picked up sixth. Matthew Reinhold, Bill Rattleman, then we have Tom Eckline, David Wadman, I'm going to kill these names, sorry, Austin Espety, and my poor guy, Ed Varas, had a horrible race. I thought he was going to do much better. Next time, Carl Williamson, his wheel went out and he put it into the wall straight. I hope he's okay. Richard Holiday, and wrapping up the field is the mystery Richard Burden, probably with Elizabeth Taylor. All right, back to you, Joe.
Something only viewers of a certain age will probably get.
You gotta be a right decade for that one.
Yeah. Well, we have some interviews to do. First up, we have our ST winner, and that is Amjad Yaman. Bill Zahn is going to ask him a few questions after his third win of the season.
Third win of the season. Congratulations, Doctor. That was quite a battle at the end. Did you think you were going to come out of that clean?
Quite a battle at the end. It was quite a battle for the entire 2 hours. But yeah, I mean, we'll kind of keep it as clean as possible. But man, what a battle. I mean, I don't know if you know this, but Serge was pretty good. So I'm really happy to come out ahead today.
You know, it was interesting because he was behind you. And then you had like 3 Mustangs coming up on you. And I think that's when he decided that he was going to make the move on you. And you guys were in a dogfight with those Mustangs for half a lap a whole lap.
Yeah, it was about a half a lap. But kudos to the Mustangs for not forcing the issue and getting too much in the way. I know it's kind of a tricky situation, but it was just all about getting past that situation and getting back to normal racing.
I'll let you go on this question. You had you spaced him every once in a while, and then he was able to run you down. Do you think he was running you down with tempo, with pace, or do you think it was in your draft that he was catching you?
I think both, because I was kind of testing on pace through the pit stops, and we were pretty even throughout all of that. So I think it was pretty much. Pretty much the same throughout the entire race.
Well, man, that was you're going to enjoy replaying that and watching that one. That's some of the best racing I've seen in a long, long time. Congratulations on your third win. Stevenson finished 4th, so that's going to get you real close to the lead.
Yeah, but instance as well, I had way too many, so that's going to drop me a few points.
There's always a catch there. All right, well, we'll see you next week.
All right, thank you.
Joe?
Up next, we have our GS winner. We actually managed to have both winners to talk to today. That is Brian Strodbeck. And Brian, it's great to have you back in the lead, but you didn't seem to have much competition today. Was it a breeze out there, or did you have a hard time trying to extend that 30-second gap?
Hey, Joe. Yeah, it was pretty boring. I told you I'd make it in here into the chat one of these days, but too bad I don't really have anything to talk about.
Yeah, you certainly made it look easy up there. When you saw the competition was here, did you expect that, or did you think you'd have to fight for most of this race, or what did you think coming in here?
Well, I really didn't think it was going to be that easy. I just put my head down and just kept going. I really wanted to lead every lap because my teammate Steve Brown, he couldn't make it today, so I figured I'd try to help him out, and if I could lead every lap, that means somebody else couldn't get points, so I think I blew it on that part.
Well, you still led the vast majority of them, that's sure. I'm trying to remember if you did relinquish the lead at any point, but regardless, you definitely managed to donate a lot of money to roughstarthappytales.org, which you and Sean Vandergriff were the two substitutes for today, whoever finished better. So congratulations on getting, at the bare minimum, $20 more to that organization. Again, congratulations and incredible job. But one of these days, we'd love to see you run full-time here and give some of these guys a run for their money.
Yeah, I would love to run full-time, but you'd have to talk to my boss. The city of Cleveland probably wouldn't like me to take time off to do this, but yeah, thanks again, and hopefully I'll see you at VAR.
Well, you're very welcome, and thank you for talking to us. Up next, we have the third place finisher in GS, and that is Nicholas Bailey. Should be taking over the championship lead. Ayrton Ellis is going to have some questions for him.
Thanks, Joe. Nicholas, you there?
Yes.
Well, congratulations on third place finish. That battle was really close at the end there. What were you thinking there at the end? Do you think you could try get him with the draft on the last lap, or what were you thinking?
Well, I was able to run him down, but I wasn't sure if I'd be able to get around him. He drives pretty defensive, but everything was clean and fair, and it was just a really great race, especially there. After Canada corner, I was able to get my nose in a couple more times, but he just was able to get out of the corner better. He was great on the brakes in the turn one. I'm sure most of them probably had a heart attack.
And we actually noticed that throughout the race, especially at the start, you actually dropped pretty far back, but then at the end of the stints, you caught back up. Were you focusing more on saving your tires and like going on the long run, or like was that your strategy to just try to stay consistent?
Problem was, I was no good on fresh tires. For whatever reason, I couldn't get the braking points right. I needed to be going deeper in, and I kept missing shifts at the beginning. And so that's what happened when Sean and I went too wide. I just missed a shift and had to kind of bail out of the corner. Both the pit stops, I was really struggling and missing shifts.
So either way, third place finish is great for you. That gives you your third podium of the season, and that's also going to put you on top of the championship standings. Do you think you're going to go all out for this championship win, and who do you think is going to be the biggest contenders against you?
Well, points-wise, I think it's going to end up being Elliott and Sean. I've only got one real drop. I had an 8-point week at Laguna, but for Thanksgiving, I'm going to miss the race at Circuit of the Americas, so that's my other drop. So I can't miss any of the others. I can't have a bad race in the other three I'll be here, but should be good, and we'll see. I mean, Steve Brown, he's quick, so he can come in, anything can happen.
Well, great to see you up at the front of the field after so many seasons just being a little short of those podiums. So great race today, Nicholas. Thanks for coming.
Yeah, thanks very much, and congrats to Brian.
Okay, back to you, Joe.
Well, finishing in fourth today in the ST class, despite having a good pace early on, is James Stevenson, and Bill is going to ask him a few questions about how his race went.
James, you finished fourth, but honestly, I thought that's one of the best races I've seen you have. You had some trouble. The car must have been damaged, right? I'm assuming?
Yeah, I got hit by two GS cars in succession, and it completely, I don't know what it did, must have bent the rear end or something, and the car was a second lap off the pace after that.
Yeah, we were looking at you, and it wasn't right, but man, you had a nice, you hung in there. How do you think you were clean-wise? Did you think you were many incidents going off track, or were you pretty able to keep it clean even with the damage?
Oh, it was 0 right up until the damage, and because the two damage incidents were a little bit apart, I ended up with 8 there and then a bunch more after that, trying to keep it on the track, so I'll definitely lose some points from that, unfortunately.
Well, we're trying to do the math here. It's going to tighten up a little bit. We think you're still going to have the lead. I'm telling you, buddy, it's time for a victory. You think you got one? What do you think? Do you like VIR?
Oh, I'm not a huge fan of VIR, but I've gone reasonably well there in the past. But I'll tell you about the championship. I'm 2 ahead of Sergio and 6 ahead of MJ.
See, that's how you win a championship, boys and girls. You can do the math. You know what's going on. James, I love watching you race. Let's I'm not supposed to pull for it. I'm supposed to say neutral, but I'd like those wins to be spread around. So let's see if we can get one next week. Okay.
Thanks, guys.
All right. Thanks, Joe.
One last interview. We have Sean Vandergriff, who is a championship contender in the GS field. Unfortunately, he was 7th on the road today. Sean, we saw you make a late race stop, a 3rd stop, which is unusual in this series. Did you accidentally short fuel it?
Yes and no. When I was running behind Duljon earlier, I got a shortcut penalty and looked up and said, "Oh, hey, use this as a time to pit." And then I looked down as I was already heading down pit lane and realized I'm too early. So I ended up having to stop just for 1 gallon there right at the end.
Ah, unfortunate to see. It seemed like there was a little bit more variety in strategies that we didn't expect, but Panu Pasanen as well, apparently, we believe, loaded his qualifying fuel. Up until then, though, you were fighting very hard with Boldrin and Herman. Tell us about that incident in Canada Corner.
Yes, they were those two guys. Being teammates, they were kind of sticking together, and they did a great job running through qualifying in the race. And I messed up and got out of rhythm at the beginning of the race and fell back, and then started running them back down. And then after the first pit stop, I closed a little bit more. And then Nicholas Bailey was pretty close behind, and he started running us down after I caught Duljon and Arthur. And they were trying to stay in front, which, I mean, they should. That's what they're supposed to do. But that was letting Nicholas catch us both. And so my thought was let the faster car in front and try to keep from the other car catching up for another potential pass. So I was a little bit aggressive, and Arthur went defensive on that. And when he went defensive going in, I was as hard on the brakes as I could be, and I just had nowhere to go except right into his door. I hate that happened. I don't like to take anybody out, and I don't like to get any of the incidents, but I'm not sure what else I could have done on that one, except for just wait. But that would have eliminated the whole thing of trying to get in front of them and keep Nicholas behind us.
Well, the good news is, even though you were one of the substitutes for the happytails.org donations, the other substitute managed to win today. However, I understand that you have a few other causes that you're racing for in this series.
Yes, I do. I have children kind of hold a special place in my heart. So, and I hate to hear about all the children that are orphans and I don't have anywhere to go. So I like to want to have to put together some sort of special sponsorship for to race for orphans and kids in children's homes, as well as Alzheimer's. That's the disease that my grandfather passed away from a few years ago, and that's just the whole thought of having to go through the dementia aspect is that's kind of terrifying to me personally, and I hate to hear that anybody has to go through that.
It's got to be an incredibly tough time, and it's great to hear that you'd be willing to put together something like that to help people out as well as the orphans. Hopefully you'll be able to get a better race at VIR. Sorry to see you didn't manage to get onto the podium today, but we will hopefully see you in a few weeks' time.
Oh yes, definitely. I'll do everything I can. I appreciate you guys very much. You guys do a hell of a job for us.
Well, thank you for coming and talking to us, and commiserations.
Thanks, guys.
Let's close up for today. First off, we want to thank the official sponsor of the Continental Endurance Sports Car Series, and that is Safecraft Racing. You can see it on your screen. They make real-world safety gear for motorsports and keep everybody's noggins still attached to their head. Also, we want to thank Wes Eric, the organizer of this league, as well as iRacing.com, XSplit, Twitch TV, Audio Technica, AverMedia, and Behringer. Thanks to the team today. If you'd like to find out more about GSRC, you can find it at www.globalsimracingchannel.com, along with archived races and race highlights. We're also on Twitter at GSR Channel and Facebook at /GlobalSimRacingChannel. Thanks goes out to Dougie Beard, who creates all the camera sets for the Global Sim Racing channel, and a special thank you to Eric Ekholm, whose music is not only found here on GSRC, but in TV commercials, movie trailers, iTunes, and Spotify. If you like our music, tell Eric where you heard it at Eric Ekholm on Twitter. Additional thanks go out to Casey Lalonde, who also provides us with music for our broadcast. And a special announcement, Casey is about to release his next album that is going to be out on October 9th. The album is called Floating Rooms. You can find it on caseylalonde.bandcamp.com. Keep an eye out.
Our next race, as we mentioned, is going to be VIR. That'll be Saturday, November 1st at 6:30 p.m. Eastern. But until next time, race clean, race hard, and I'll see you on the track.